Springfield, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. People of Springfield, please don't eat my cats. Why would you do that? Eat something else.
Oh,
Springfield, don't eat my dog. It's a catalog.
good morning. Why did I bring that up? Because they are literally eating the cats. I don't think there was a cat team that won yesterday. Seriously, Jags, Panthers, who else?
Wow.
Bengals. I think there's one more cat.
Lions.
Ooh.
They're eating the cats. But I'm eating the dogs because dogs of 6.5, 6 or higher, so like the freaking Bears last night, if I didn't buy a half point, I lose that bet. They're 8-0 to start the season. Dogs of 6 points or higher. It's the best start for dogs ever. If you care about gambling, welcome to the show.
And I'm disappointed in myself because as a guy that loves to make outrageous parlays, I have not been betting dogs like I usually do in past years, and I'm missing out.
Dude, you need to eat the dogs, bro. You need to eat the dog. Week 2 through week 2. I don't know, maybe if it's time to fade the dogs week 3. Guys, what a friggin' day. What a day. We are firing on all cylinders. Hello in the chat. We love you. I have so much love for you guys that tune in here every Monday. There's a lot of shows you could be watching. You're watching our show. Thank you very much. Now it's time to talk about BetMGM. As you know, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines, which have been very, very good to me, to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for you listeners every week. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Number 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. Matt is twitching in the back of the room. He has a problem. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. 3, you will receive up to $1,500. Is that a typo? $1,500 in bonus bets. If your bet loses, just make sure you use the bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up. That's beautiful. That's a thing of beauty.
I'm twitching because I hit 2 parlays last night.
I'm twitching because I started the season 7-3 in my locks.
Saw that.
And I made a lot of money yesterday and in the 4 p.m.s. I told you about them Bengals. They were going to at least cover. I felt like they should have won the game. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Guys, I don't know if you noticed my hat. I want to shout out Galette's in Tuscaloosa. It's one of my favorite places to go when I'm visiting my number 2 college, my side college, Alabama. And Alabama went to Wisconsin this weekend. You guys were there. I didn't really watch. I was on the river during the day. What happened in that game?
You want me to start with that one, Chris?
Yeah, I think you should.
First of all, it was a very exciting atmosphere at Camp Randall. Felt fun to be back, introduce the boys to Camp Randall, some of the tailgating atmosphere, things like that. We heard our quarterback on the starting drive.
They're eating the Badgers.
From there, just the flat-out better Alabama football team just drove us into the ground, and we ended up losing 42-10. We had some costly turnovers in the red zone, things like that. I think if you want to beat the number 4 ranked team in college football, you need to come out firing, and we just kind of slowly got fucking beat, man.
Man, if more teams would just know to come at 1 point for Beau. And by the way, I think how we're going to do this is if you win the competition, you get to put up a highlight of your playing career at the end of the show. That's what we decided on the phone. And Beau was like, I think it'd be really fun to do lowlights, too, of each other. I'm like, no. Let's just stick to the positive.
I don't have any lowlights, Chris.
I know you don't. I know you don't, bro. I do. But yeah, no, you guys had fun, it sounded like.
Yeah, we had a good time. Yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful day in Madison. And, I was happy because some of our favorite viewers, that would be Matt and Susie Allen, got to meet Cowboy Reed, Ralph, Aiden, and the rest of the gang. And my parents were committed to helping us create some great content, which was fun. So The Allen family had a good time too.
Somebody asked me, are we going to mention the Maryland-Virginia game or nah? We just did. That's the only mention you're going to get out of that whole thing. Scott Van Pelt texted me a profanity at like midnight, and I was like, fuck you, get to work. Who cares? Oh, that's one for me.
High ball game, boys. Let's go.
High
Coming
ball
out
game.
hot. Let me go look
Scott.
for some Beau Allen highlights quick. I know there's a lot of them out there.
Scott, ultimately, who cares? Okay? If we had won, maybe we make a big deal about it, but who cares? Okay? We're 2-1.
No more blue outs.
No more blue outs.
Never heard of that before.
I don't do blue outs.
Something new. Throw it out
I don't
the
do
window,
blue outs.
guys.
Yeah. Melvin was up there. Melvin Gordon was up there. James White was up there with you guys. A couple guys.
Sure.
Joe Thomas.
Joe Thomas. I heard a
That
funny
was
story
tough.
about Joe Thomas and Beau Allen.
You're off. What was that?
It was that like some guy came up and they were like, "Oh my God, Joe Thomas," and then your dad was like, "That's Beau Allen. He played for Super Bowl winning Eagles," and they were like,
Yeah, let's go,
nice
Dad."
to see you." That's the
Yeah,
worst. Welcome to
how
my
many
whole
Super Bowls
life.
Did you win, Joe?
Welcome to my whole life. Just walking around with my dad. I don't even want to be recognized, but it's like it just the look on people's faces when they realize who you are too, and they don't have anything to give you in the moment. You felt that finally. All right, so where are we starting, guys? Because there is a lot to cover. Sunday
Last night.
Holy shit! It was 2012 out there. Okay, if you played in the early 2010s in the NFC West, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you watched the NFC West, if you watched the AFC North in the early 2010s, there were some hits last night where, and I'm going to start the breakdown like this. Number one, hats off to Caleb Williams because he's very tough. I mean, I for all the guy paints his nails. Oh, the guy has a purse. Oh, brother, he got obliterated out on that field last night. Okay, he got burped a couple times, as we used to say. And for him to get up and keep battling, I think he's going to earn a lot of respect in the locker room. Getting up in post-game talking. I'm going to talk about this later in the mentions, but I'd love to hear what C.J. Stroud said to him at the end of the game in that kind of like huddle at midfield where they were dapping it up. I think Caleb Williams made some bad decisions. I think he missed some throws. And I think he got pummeled, and not all of it was under his control. But I do want to say this. Let's not act like Caleb Williams is the first rookie quarterback to get pinballed back there in one of his first two starts. Okay? We didn't do this we did a little bit for Burrow. Well, Burrow proved it. I mean, Burrow looked better coming in, right? Like, he looked more pro-adjusted. But everybody was worried about Burrow. Nobody worried about Sam Bradford. I played with a guy named Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford, I promise you, was better than his career ended up. It's like we're very selective when it comes to taking the context of somebody's career, how they enter the league into account. And obviously there's a lot of people, myself included, who would like to see this kid do well, okay? I see the special traits. Every time he leaves the pocket, I'm like, oh, he could hurt us. I'm on Houston last night, okay? When he leaves the pocket, I'm afraid. I don't get afraid when Bo Nix leaves the pocket. I'm not watching a bunch of Jaden Daniels yesterday.
You'll be afraid.
No, I love Jaden Daniels.
afraid
Okay,
of
I can't wait to see this tape. But I will tell you, he's got to play better in some spots. It's not all the offensive line, man. Like, I know it's easy. Y'all put this team in the playoffs. By y'all, I mean everybody who was standing on the table for them to make this trade. I don't count myself in that group. I was pretty vocal about, hey, maybe you don't bring in, an otherworldly talent and not see it realized because your team isn't quite complete. But everybody said this team's ready to win right now. You guys put them in the playoffs. You guys talked about how damn good they were going to be, the greatest show on fescue right out of the gate. And last night what they did is they went on the road and played a team that blitzed more than they have generally.
Ever. Under D'Amico, yeah.
Yeah, this was D'Amico's. I mean, D'Amico said, hey, we're going to speed it up. It's going to be loud. There are going to be adjustments you have to make. There are going to be protections you have to set. Let's see how quickly you can get to your first option in the quick game. and we'll keep you out of taking those shots. And I thought the speed with which that defense plays was on full display. I wish we'd walk out of that game last night and say, holy shit, Houston's fast. And that team, with the other AFC elites struggling at times early this season, the NFC elites struggling this week 2, very young season, that team looks like one of the best teams in the league. And it looks like one of the best teams in the league, not only because of C.J. Stroud, but because of the additions that they made with the game on the line. Hunter, I mean, that's a Hall of Fame rush with the game on the line. And, yeah, the right tackle, people are like, look at this guy, as if to say they're killing Caleb. No, Danielle Hunter killed Caleb, okay? The Shire, the guy's a fucking guy's a missile, okay? Guy's a missile out there. And the fight on the sideline, guys.
He's going to get a big fine.
He's going to get a big fine. Yeah. And people are like, how did they not see it? How did they not see it? I don't know, 45 people in between the ref and Al Shire. You can't go up to New York. I know that sometimes you think the NFL is like rigging the game, but I thought Houston was getting a lot of penalties last night that maybe were on the line. And it kept Chicago in the game. The Shire play, yeah, you'd like to see that and eject him. And I don't know what happened on the ground. I would assume something nasty happened on the ground. But that's what happens. And I would be lying to you if I didn't say, and you can call me anything you want. I played for Jeff Fisher and Greg Williams. You can call me a dirtbag. I like it. I'd say don't punch people in the face mask because you're going to break your hand. But I love the intensity, the dog that guy brings to that defense. Like, you need a guy like that. When we played in the early 2010s, we had Cortland Finnegan. Okay, everybody talks about Andre Johnson, but most of the time, Cortland was the guy that got the best of the other guy. Jolon Dunbar, TJ McDonald, guys like that just – I play with 6 or 7 guys that I saw knock people unconscious. And last night, it felt like that kind of game. This is a really fast defense. So, yeah, this rookie had an O-line that struggled. Okay, they're on the road. 2.59 to throw is pretty good. Like, that's top 10 in the league as far as getting the ball out, but still pressured on 36 of 44 dropbacks. Nate Davis and Coleman Shelton are IDing people at the door at a college bar. Mm-hmm. Okay.
4 false starts on that line as well that were really brutal. 4
false starts, just bad day up front for them. But let's not make it all about let's not do what would the word be? This is I don't know. Caleb Williams should sue the Bears. This is just so unfair to him. We said coming in, I don't know that a rookie quarterback's ever had as good a situation as this. And I would say, looking at the first 2 games, you go to Houston and play with a team that I put in the Super Bowl, and you're down 6 points, that's a testament to that team at the end of the game, okay? You give up 17 to the Titans, you come back and win that game, you don't even score an offensive touchdown. This team is pretty good. There are 2 teams in the NFL right now that if they figure out the quarterback, they're going to be scary. This is one of them. So the job of the Chicago Bears is to not ruin this kid in the first half of the season. Commit to the quick game. You're going to play Indy next week. You're going to run the ball for 200 yards. You have to.
Yep.
Okay? Stick to the script. Get this kid some help. The O-line will figure it out, or they won't, and you got to work around it. Tough shit. This is the NFL. You are a rookie quarterback, okay? I picked Sam Bradford up every time after he tore his ACL, hung out with him in the morning. This dude was obliterated from the minute he walked into the league. And I know some people are going to be like, this is different. Caleb Williams is special. Sam's not. I can't tell so far, okay? Now, I'm on his side. I just don't like the BS, okay? And if they figure this quarterback out or he figures it out, they're going to be special. Like, they're going to be dangerous, okay? But they can't do it getting this kid killed. And last night was probably a situation, if you were trying to win that game, he was going to take some hits. And boy, did he. But I want to give Houston some credit. I just think their defense was a lot of fun. And DJ Moore looks frustrated. The whole group looks frustrated. And I don't think it's at Caleb. I thought he handled everything after the game well. So this is not a hit job. It's not a criticism of Caleb. It's a criticism of you in the chat who couldn't wait this morning to come make a million excuses why this team that you put in the playoffs is failing Caleb Williams.
I didn't
see it that way.
I love seeing the meme go around of Justin Fields sitting on a bench as a Bear, and then Caleb Williams.
Yes, Kai, malpractice is the word I was looking for.
They have the same facial expression, like just dejected, sitting on that Bears bench. And the meme is just like, this is what playing for the Bears does to you as a quarterback.
I don't think it's the Bears. I get it. It's a haunting kind of deal around that. Like, it's like Cleveland. It's like a mini Cleveland. But Rex Grossman did go to the Super Bowl as a Chicago Bear. They have a ring back in the 80s. Like, you gotta exercise these demons and live in the now. You got who you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
You got guys outside. You have a dynamic run game. Lean on that run game. Go quick game. Give him time to get his feet under him. The thing I'm surprised about is that the deeper intermediate balls are not all on target, because that was the one thing I thought he'd do a really good job of coming out of college, but he just hasn't so far.
Chris, you want to know, I mean, you mentioned it briefly, but a guy who I think that the Bears can get a little bit more out of offensively, this dude who I think is explosive as hell. He got a lot of, I mean, he had, 14 carries last night, but DeAndre Swift, if they could just get their run game going, and you've talked about their O-line being bad, like you saw that in protection, they could get their run game going with a little more of a plan. It takes a little stress off of Caleb Williams, right?
Yeah, no question.
I think that would be a huge thing. Like, he's a talented player, man. Like, just get him going a little bit, get some confidence from the run game, offensively from the Bears. Like, you got to think that that's circled for next week against Indy, right? So, like, if they can get their run game going, get Caleb Williams into more of a groove, and they can do, like, play actions. Maybe they do some play action deep shots to DJ Moore after getting the run game going next week against Indy. Like, that'll really give him a lot of confidence going down the stretch of the season.
And, people are talking in the chat about Shane Waldron, having Shane Waldron as your first OC as a setup for failure. Like, that's not what we were saying the whole time in the offseason. There was buzz around this guy. Look what he did in Seattle, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying that was the consensus, but generally, let's not make up things week 2 to excuse what is reality. This guy is a rookie quarterback. Give him some time. But what we're not going to do, I'm not going to do, is sit up here and blame everybody but Caleb when I look around the league, and that's not the worst offensive line in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You could say coming out of 2 weeks that statistically there's XYZ issues with this offensive line. It's not the only offensive line that's struggling. It is on the coaches, and Matt Eberflus, who had 2 terrible challenges, and that was an epidemic across the league. Like, you have to coach the game perfectly when you go on the road to play Houston. You have to design your offensive play calls perfectly. You have to have a game plan that you stick to. And the game never got out of hand where they couldn't stick to it. There were drives where Caleb looked sharp, but he's got to put a full game together where either they max pro or they lean on the run and they go play action where they move the pocket. I want to see those elements. Where it's going to be really hard is against a Houston team like this that's super fast.
Right.
You can move the pocket, you can get the ball out on the perimeter, but people are there. They're swarming. You know what I'm saying? And Stingley played better last night. I thought Stingley had a rough week 1. He played better.
Yeah, he bounced back. And with Chicago too, it takes time to build a contender as well. I mean, you look at the moves they made this offseason. They focused on skill guys, bringing in Swift, drafting a Dunze, bringing in Keenan. It's going to be next offseason where they can kind of make more investments there up front. But yeah, it's just, the overreaction of everybody thinking it's going to happen overnight. It doesn't for anybody. Like CJ Stroud's an anomaly.
Yeah, let's stop doing this thing
Right.
where he could be CJ Stroud this year. And you know what the thing about CJ Stroud was? He wasn't even the guy that was supposed to be CJ Stroud. The guy that's supposed to be CJ Stroud, people are giving up on him 19, 20 games into his career in Carolina.
Right.
And you got Adam Thielen at the locker after the game saying, it's not all his fault. We have to be better. And I could tell the way he was saying, you don't have to go out on a limb for that guy, but he means at least partially what he's saying. There's something to that. And the truth is, you don't get to choose where you go play football. And everybody congratulates these guys and pats them on the back. I remember when I got drafted number 2 in the draft, my first thought was this is going to be an uphill battle because nothing is framed in the context of success on a losing team. Nothing. You play on a bad team, you could be playing well. Everything that goes wrong, they're going to look at you, a high draft pick, and say, what were you not doing on this play? What were you? So we do some of that in looking at Caleb Williams. And conversely, if you're on a great team, generally cream rises to the top, and you are a beneficiary of that. So it's reality. You thought you had a really good team. I think you do. But you have to take care of the one thing you maybe didn't do quite a good enough job of, and that's solidifying this offensive line. But you had to choose one thing. And that was the chance you took, and you made the trade anyways. So it's on you. Now you have to figure it the F out. Nice.
Chris, I got a small bone to pick about the Sunday Night Football broadcast and just the game in general, if you may. There's been a big emphasis on player safety in 2024. You see the Guardian caps being worn by players sporadically across the league. We go to the, change kickoff that's supposed to be better for player safety. I think if we really cared about the safety of individuals on an NFL football field, we would go to digital tracking of the ball, because we saw a situation last night where a chain gang member bonked his head on the turf and got a little banged up, had to get carted off the field. We really care about the safety of everybody involved on an NFL football field.
Don't do this.
Digital tracking, so we don't have guys.
Don't do this.
Shirt on the sideline. What do you think about that, Chris?
What do I think about it? I think removing the chain gang is like pulling out a piece of the fabric that makes up the American flag or something like that. Like, it is one of the stars on the flag. I would remove Delaware.
Don't think that the NFL could do a better job of protecting
I would remove Rhode Island before I'd remove the chain gang. Okay?
I just think it's an important thing that no one's really talking about.
No, I actually have a whole thing about the chain gang at the end of the show here, because they were under fire yesterday. There were injuries left and right. It wasn't just that guy who bonked his head super hard.
Like a heart attack.
There was a leg whip. Somebody got leg whip. I think he broke his leg.
I think someone
had like a heart attack or something.
Out.
I don't want to spread bad rumors, but these guys are, listen, they're pretty old, and people are coming. I mean, you're standing on the side of the highway. So kudos to those guys. I hope that guy's okay. Seriously.
Yeah.
To not be mobile on the sideline, but we cannot get rid of. I don't care if we have to put big jacked young men on the chain gang. Like, maybe the chain gang is just the biggest, most muscular, pliable people. They all look like they're strength coaches. They're former strength coaches in the NFL or something. They're get back guys, because we cannot lose. You know what the chain gang gives us? You would hate this thing that they're talking about doing. We would all hate it, because half of the fun of the NFL is we all stop and argue about a call. There's a break to tweet. There's a break to go get a drink. There's a break to. Do you want to watch soccer? That's what it's going to turn into, just constant movement. The great thing about the NFL is the stopping and the starting, and it's the imperfection. It's the hey, we can't make everything perfect. I think maybe laser when the game's on the line, or if you think you blew a call, but I need the mechanics of the chain gang. Also, it's part of American culture here.
Beau is trying to take all these jobs away from hardworking Americans. Those are 4 jobs on Sunday every game.
They took our jobs.
I just want to see, instead of the old men on the side of the field for the chain gang, let's get some ring girls from the UFC out there. That's just good for the
bonk.
Bonk.
What a bonk. That should be a point.
Susie Allen in the chat.
Before we go to the Kansas City game, how electric is Nico Collins?
Oh, he's just
brother
incredible.
From another mother.
He's incredible. Yeah.
And Fairbarn with 4 field goals, 3 over 50. Incredible weapon.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday. I think you one of you guys brought this up, but it was kind of like watching the Cowboys week 1, and obviously it looked different week 2. By the way, you watch the Cowboys, how they had to operate yesterday. That's a game where this team can't be in that situation. The Bears, you have to play things in phase. That you can't rely on week 1, special teams touchdown, defensive touchdown. You're not playing Will Levis every week. But these field goal kickers are weapons. The best teams in the league have them. They always do. And so Fairbairn being that piece of the puzzle where you're hey, they can hit from 55 reasonably.
Yeah, you get a possession with 30 seconds left in the half. You like your chances of getting.
Because now they're playing. Now they're playing defense, and you think about what 3 points does in a game that's 16-10. It's a big deal. Big kicker game yesterday. Hey, if you'd have told me in July that we were going to have the week 2 matchup, Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud, it was going to be an under, and it was going to be a kicker game.
Kicker and punter.
Yeah. Anyways.
All right, we got Cincinnati, Kansas City.
Cincy KC, man, this was just – listen, I know some people don't love Romo, but I'm getting real used to these CBS spots with Nance and Romo. And the way CBS shoots these games, I don't know what kind of camera they're using, but it's beautiful. And to get, a game on natural grass in the 4 p.m. window at Arrowhead with those 2 teams, it was incredible. the Chiefs find ways to win, right? They just find ways to win. But I'll tell you this was good for the Bengals. I'm zagging. Okay, if people are talking about, oh, they're dead, they're just holding on to the take they had last week when they looked, frankly, pretty pedestrian against the Pats. I thought they came in and looked good, and for most of the game, it felt like they were in control of the Chiefs, who we all put in the Super Bowl last week. Down Rashee Rice. We didn't care. They're going back, right? There's a reason for a hiccup. They called it Burrowhead. You should never call it Burrowhead. That mayor should be fired for what he did. I think he delayed the window of this team, right, by talking shit to the Chiefs. You don't talk shit to the Chiefs, but they have played well there. They looked really good. I thought this almost brought it out of them. You know, for a team that's now 1-9 in September, it's terrible, but this is the best they've looked in September. Now, they lost the game, and you can be real black and white about it. You can be, oh, a win's a win, a loss a loss. Okay, what we're talking about is the viability of a team in December and January. For them to look this solid this early, that was very good. They'll get Higgins back. They'll get some D linemen back. Rankins, Hill left the game. They were beat up front. They'll get Mims back at some point. Chiefs, on the other hand, and listen, I'm a big Chiefs fan. I'm not trying to spin this Cincinnati's way, but they lost Pacheco. That's a big deal, and they're not going to get Brown back. So if you're looking at like the power struggle in the AFC, you watch the Ravens. We'll get there in a bit, but who looks like the best team when they're playing their best ball in the AFC North? It ain't the Ravens right now. So they're going through a transition. They're replacing Boyd at wide receiver 3. Yoshivas was great in the red zone. They went to him a lot in the red zone. I think they targeted him like 4 times. They found Burton on a shot. They're getting the tight ends involved. I've been waiting for somebody to make Gesicki useful for the better part of 2-3 years here. Let's get him the ball. They like the rookie. They're replacing Mixon. I think that's probably the biggest issue. I'd love to see more Chase Brown. On top of this, you're doing all this trying to figure out how to get Jamar Chase the ball and run your offense when he's easier to double than ever. And so, like, they work stacks early. They hit people out of stacks, lots of tight end. Quick games, obviously, is a staple. I almost feel like you look at the Bills last year, and you're in this mini period where you lose Higgins. You're down Boyd, who people didn't make a big enough deal about because just of the numbers of competent wide receivers you have out there. If Yoshivas can become like a little Julian Edelman for this guy, I mean, that'd be pretty damn good look for them because he likes going to him. But I will say this, like the Bills, looking how they look now, they made the turn to running the offense through tight ends in the run game. Cincinnati doesn't have as dynamic a run game. I don't think they have a back like Cooks, but they do have a couple tight ends they really like.
Yep.
And so I think this is what they're going to be until they get Higgins back for sure. And all this, you go to Arrowhead and you make a case for walking out with a win, but they botched it. Okay, they played really well for 58 minutes, and if you add up their mistakes, it's 2 minutes of bad stuff. First off, opening series, I like getting points there. Not 3. I like going and trying to get 6, 7. The Burrow fumble, you can't do that. You're up. You can make it a 2-score game. You drop it on the turf. They score. McPherson missed an extra point. That didn't really end up mattering. But the Yoshivas drop, to me, on that last drive before they give Kansas City the ball back, if you guys remember that drop, as good as he played, you got to have that. You should be first down in plus territory. You should be icing this game or going up or whatever it is. But, like, that drop was huge, and it left Kansas City a lot of time. And so that was bad, and I thought at the very end of the game, dropping 8, 4th and 16, I know that's a staple, but you let Mahomes out of the pocket, and that is a penalty. All right, that's a penalty.
No doubt.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have broken our brains. We are far too caught up in conspiracy theories with this team. Okay, because I remember last year when Carl Cheffers took the game back from him on maybe the most spectacular play of the season. The call in the Super Bowl, I'm an Eagles fan, it's probably a penalty, okay? The question is, do you call it in that situation or not? And the same thing last night. You can argue with me and say, hey, don't call that in that situation. But it is a foul. He's early, okay? And I had the Bengals.
Yeah.
So hearing me, a guy who had Bengals money line and +6, telling you it's a penalty, this is not me caping. And then finally, Jamar Chase, I know you're frustrated. And by the way, he has an insurance policy taken out, which is quite interesting. I did that my senior year when I came back for the draft, not 50 mil. I mean, whatever he's got.
Yep.
But he looked better today. They tried to take him away. They did take him away for much of the game. McDuffie was on him a lot. He's frustrated, and he's wrong. That's not a hip drop tackle, 1. 2, let it go and move on, my guy, because that is it's 3rd and 7 at the 30. You have a chance to get points, like 7 points on that drive. Change everything.
You talked
Instead,
about
you get
that
4th and 22.
You talked about the insurance policy he took out. Do you think the fear of injury for him right now is kind of clouding, it's like prevalent in his
No, I think I think he's frustrated in general because he could see this situation going poorly if they figure out a way to work around him and his numbers aren't great and all of a sudden like he's going up to get a new deal. He's still Jamar Chase, but like, this is how you justify and you have leverage. It's like, well, we 4 or 5 targets a game. We can work around that. But he does change the game, like Kelsey as well, because you pay so much damn attention to him. So I think he's just got to be less frustrated. He's got to move on in that situation. Even on the sideline, he's still pissed off. Like, you got to move on. And somebody in that team's got to be like, hey, Jamar, you're our heart and soul, bro. Like, let's line up and get 3rd and 7.
But it's easy to say until you get a contract done. Like, I feel like
you're a professional.
I get
Are
it.
you saying that he should be justified in being frustrated and
Well, when
saying
you
whatever he said to the official?
well, when you
what
see-
I'm saying is you can't do that. The game's
no.
on the line.
Yeah.
I understand you're frustrated, but in that circumstance, you got to move on. So I thought the backers played well. Davis Gaither had that pick on the Tampa 2 look where he slid in the middle. Pratt punched the ball out. Beau, the IDL bag, they're dipping into it, the depth. And I thought they got blown off the ball a little bit at times, but they survived. And, Hendrickson damn near wrecked the game. So you got the Taylor
I was waiting
Britt
for
pick.
the chance.
Sorry
to interrupt you. I was waiting for the chance to bring up Hendrickson because I think if they win that game, like he's the clear player of the game. Like they had that rookie left tackle out there. He was false starting. I think he had a penalty where he got his hands up in Hendrickson's face. Mess that called a big play back for the Chiefs, but like he had 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 QB hits, and he just looked really smooth out there. Like they don't get as much pressure on the interior of their defensive line. Talking about the Bengals, but like they've been getting a lot of pressure out of those 2 great white hopes on the outside.
Yeah, they've been steady, man. And like Hendrickson, he's just such a technician. And I think for Wanya Morris, as Jim Nantz was calling him, that's news to me. But it's Sua Mateia.
Yep. Nailed it.
He's the young guy from BYU. You haven't seen a guy with technique like this. You've seen some guys early in the season, but this guy's got great technique. He can pry you open. He can go power. He's going to open the shoulder he wants to open, and he also knows rushing Mahomes, you're going to have extra time. And he damn near wrecked the game. But, I thought the game came down to the red zone, repeatedly. They played 21 plays inside the 10, these 2 teams, 17 inside the 4. It was so interesting watching the chess match down there. And that's why I say Yoshivas is going to be big for them in the red zone because Kansas City plays great in the red zone. Like, they really make you earn everything. And conversely, offensively, they have plays for Wanya Morris on 4th down. Like, they are a nightmare down there. So, Spags' defense, I got to give them credit. We started this whole thing with talking about the Bengals. I thought Spags' defense, they didn't bring pressure a lot. It's not something you want to do against Joe Burrow, which he's kind of like an Achilles heel for Spags because they went quick game. They take what you give them. And if you play zone, he's going to pick you apart. If you play man, but they brought pressure with Chamari Connor, who scored the touchdown earlier. In a key moment in the game, he came off the double, so he's not even looking for him. And I think that was just a brilliant chess move by Spags. And I thought Bolton made some great plays. Chris Jones forced that fumble, not literally, but just by getting back there so quickly. McDuffie, I mentioned him. I thought the defense was great. But now if you're Kansas City, guys, you got no Brown, you got no Pacheco. And I'm not trying to swing the power in the AFC somewhere, but Pacheco in this game is the reason you're winning this game. Mahomes is the reason you're winning it too, but Pacheco, I don't know how many times they gave him on the first drive. They gave him the ball over and over again. I mean, this is who they go to in crunch time, and now you got a white guy with a crocodile. And the guy fumbled in the first half. They believe in him because they gave him the ball on 4th down in the second half, but he's going to have to play well. And I don't know, maybe they go look on the street. Kelsey, he's going to get the ball. Mahomes talks about how they took him away. Last year he played possum and he went off on people, so don't tell me he's old.
But they still got to feel great. They just got 2 wins against 2 close call wins against 2 really good teams.
Well, you don't play
early.
perfect.
early.
And you got
So
guys down.
So you got to feel good about that. Like,
That goes without saying. You do this breakdown. I hope Chiefs fans know the reverence we have for the Chiefs. We're not sitting here making this whole thing about the Bengals, but the Bengals are the ones who really you're trying to find out where you are. I think I know who the Chiefs are, okay? They prove it time and time again. Now the adjustment's going to have to be made. Like, how do you get to your run game? P. Ryan's a really good guy out of the backfield, but he's not going to – they need one guy.
That first possession, they went to him 9 times.
9 times.
That's
on
your
that
script.
drive.
9 times.
That's your script.
Ferris Bueller.
9 times.
no.
So here's the deal, man. Like, you got to figure out how to keep this run game going because this is a real strength. Like, they looked at that interior defensive line for the Bengals who's wounded, and they said, we got to go. And so I think all things considered, getting Mahomes to throw 3 picks, one of them comes back because of a Kelsey play where they hold him. You continue to confirm that you have the Chiefs, not their number, but you can play with them. Like how to play with the Chiefs, which is a big thing to just make sure you still know how to do it at the beginning of the season. You can say, hey, they're 0-2, abject failure. Relatively speaking, if you said the Bengals started 0-2, I'd want to know how it looked, knowing who they are. 1-9 now in September, Joe Burrow. This is not his month. And particularly, I don't care for it either. It's too hot. The leaves haven't made up their minds. They're like, are we falling? Is it summer? Is it 90 degrees? Is it fall? The rivers are really low around here. I don't like September either.
They're still minus 140 to make the playoffs at BetMGM.
Wow.
They're going to get in. They're going to be dangerous at the end of the year if everybody stays healthy. It's a big if. And you can say I'm kid gloving them. I kid glove teams that have been in the Super Bowl. I kid glove Super Bowls that are quarterbacks that have done it in crunch time. So if I'm not kid gloving your quarterback, maybe he hadn't been there.
The Ravens have not been to the Super Bowl. Ravens lost to the Raiders yesterday after being ahead.
This is one of those teams, man. And you guys talked me into it. I gave out the Ravens as one of the locks. I was like, there's no evidence that I see week 1, but it's just the way it's supposed to go. You're supposed to get right. Vegas is traveling across the country to play you. You've got a mini bye. You're the Ravens, right? But no. I mean, Isaiah likely said that was going to be our worst game. So, good luck because you got us at our worst. No, because the next week y'all played arguably worse in some spots. And, I look at this team and I'm like, it's the same story sometimes, and it's a different form of the same story. I mean, we can get to defense in a second, but this offense, I think they're figuring some things out. And I could say, hey, Cincinnati's figuring some things out, and I give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's harder for me to do that because I've seen what Baltimore has faded into late in the season, and now they're starting slow. A year ago, you let Minshew hang around, and he beat you in overtime. Colts Minshew. You have the ball with a chance to go win it. You give it up on downs, and he finishes the job. And it felt like the same script. It was like dumb turnovers, Minshew making magic happen. I think more than anything, it was apparent to me that I'm looking at the Raiders and I'm looking at the Ravens and I'm saying, like, look at their skill guys. And this is like not an excuse for Lamar, but I don't know that the Raiders are much worse at every spot outside or at tight end. You take Derrick Henry out of the equation, and I can do that because they haven't figured out how to give him the ball yet. He's not a guy that loves it out of the gun, and it seems like they love to work out of the gun.
21 rushing yards at the half only.
Yeah, now he picked it up in the second half. They got him ball on the perimeter and stuff. But I look at this team and I'm like, and this is a referendum on where they are because their offensive line, I can't put them over other units. Like they're not as bad as the Bears, I suppose. We'll see when they play teams like the Texans on the road. But Crosby almost wrecked the game. Yeah, they were giving up a lot of pressure, and that's Max Crosby, who, by the way, run and pass wrecked the game. I mean, there's nobody that him and T.J. Watt in a lot of ways like have the most complete package of
living in the backfield.
Yeah, live in the backfield. And so you could run stretch away. You could, like the movement up and down the line. But I just look at this team and I say, okay, Bowers, the tight end from Notre Dame,
Michael Mayer.
Yeah, Mayer. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. The backs are pedestrian. You compare that to Baltimore, like, again, you got Zay Flowers, Bateman, Aguilar, 2 tight ends who are studs, right? You got Derrick Henry. You haven't figured out how to use them. I look at these 2 teams and I say, like, they're supposed to be going 2 totally different places. It's all going to come down to the quarterback. And I am a huge Lamar fan, but Minshew made more plays when it counted yesterday. And it's just one game, but it's that simple. And it's also as simple as the head coach got out-coached. And when the head coach and the quarterback get outplayed and coached, it's going to be hard to win, especially when I just described the fact that you don't really have that much talent offensively. And defensively, this is the most troubling part because I thought the rushers played well. Like, Owe was all over the field. He's kind of arrived. Ajabo, like those guys are real guys. Kyle Van Noy's out there like Stevie Wonder, and he still got 2 sacks.
Matabike.
Matabike, I think he got called for a bogus penalty, but he was all over the place. So I can't put this game on the front, but something's happening on the back end, and I think a lot of it is like the Raiders just said, and I can hear Antonio Pierce saying this at the half, like, I don't think the corners are that good. Mm-hmm. So they're taking shots at the corners, whether it's Stevens or Humphrey. I saw Bowers get a playoff on Humphrey. Bowers has arrived. It's also the fact that they're giving up a ton of explosives.
Yep.
Like you pulled a stat this morning because I asked you to look for explosives. Tell me what you saw.
Yeah, the Ravens allowed 6 explosive pass plays in the second half yesterday. They've allowed the most explosive pass plays for the first 2 weeks in the whole league. Last year, they tied for 4th in the league on the whole season and allowing the least number of explosive pass plays. So something's off there in the back end for them.
Something's off in the back end for them, and in the passing game on offense, they're not the beneficiary of a bunch of great schemed up plays. And so I don't look at Lamar and say, hey, you need to scheme this thing up better. He's the one who's making things happen, but that's not sustainable. You can't depend on him. In the first half, I think I saw Flowers catch. It was like maybe a sail route or something. Mm-hmm. And that's like the only route that I saw that is just like, oh, that's schemed up perfectly. There's a throwing catch there to make. And I haven't looked at the all-22 from the back end, so I don't know if Lamar's missing people. But that is just like all their big plays come off of Lamar creating. Mm-hmm. And that's not sustainable with this group. In the past, maybe, but this group's not that good offensively.
And that
secret's out.
Right.
I just don't think they're that good offensively. And so, when you got Max Crosby who's wrecking the game, I thought Spillane played great. Jacorian Bennett,
yep,
he made a huge play after that Minshew pick. Sticky coverage. Derrick Henry has 5 yards at the half. That's not the start, man. And when I go back to talking about the coach, because this is the biggest thing in the game to me. And I'm a big Harbaugh fan. John, he's a legend. All right? Jim, he's a legend. I've ridden in an elevator with John. He was a super nice guy. He's also 61. He's like Howie Long in that he looks super young. So, let me give you as many compliments as I can before I say I think he got out-coached by a guy who was an interim last year. And the problem is the challenges. Okay, you had 2 brutal challenges. I think you had 1 brutal challenge in the first half, and you might say, well, that didn't end up hurting them. It did end up hurting them because they ran out of time before the half, and I don't understand why. I know Tucker missed a 50-something yard field goal, but you decide to take a shot at the 30, actually snap the ball with no timeouts. If you had not made that challenge, you have 1 more. Mm-hmm. You hit Flowers for 10 yards. There's 7 seconds left. It opens up the whole offense. You could do a lot more. I still would have took a shot at the end zone. That wasn't aggressive. You didn't have a timeout. And at the end of the game, not having that timeout absolutely kills you. I mean, at the end of the game, there's 27 seconds left. You should have 107 left to go in that ball game if you don't challenge that play. 107. And you're telling me Justin Tucker, who although he's been slumping, can't kick the ball from the 50-yard line, try to win the game. Should be 55 seconds at the 41 when likely drops the out. They take a shot at the 40. But the point is they should be 55 seconds at midfield. These are 2 challenges that kill you. Am I wrong, chat? You Ravens fans, am I wrong? Am I wrong? Because I just don't see it with this offense right now. Something could change. They can figure out how to use Derrick Henry,
Chris, if I can hop in on you real quick.
Go ahead.
I know you're fucking rolling. one, but I think when you look at their roster,
another
like,
F.
offensively. Oh yeah, you're right.
I think I'm going to want my strip sack of Ryan Fitzpatrick pulled up with the Patriots.
But I'm saying you look at them offensively, like it's clear in the offseason they're kind of commit to like running the ball, grinding the clock, and getting their quarterback comfortable, right? It's like use your tight ends, use Mark Andrews more, use Likely more, use Derrick Henry in the run game, and then just kind of eat up chains, right? And get him comfortable. And then every now and then you're going to have your quarterback who's an absolute freak show that cannot be contained when he's like outside of the pocket, make a huge play downfield. It's like that's kind of what the whole plan was, bringing these guys in and crafting this team. Like that's why you have Derrick Henry. Just stick to it, create that offensive identity, and then it'll just ride that throughout the course of the year. That is I
agree. They got to figure out what makes him happy. And Silvala from the chat says, imagine playing a game your whole life and not knowing it. Come on. Hey, Silvala, was I the guy that told you exactly what was going to happen in the playoffs last year, or was that you? Was I the guy that said the Kansas City Chiefs would win the Super Bowl and that they would beat your Ravens, or was that you? Was I the guy at midfield who called out that they're not the best defense in the league, or was that you? Was I the guy that took a bunch of shit from y'all about your team for saying what is the truth? I don't hate Lamar. I love Lamar. Lamar is great for the game. He's top 5 quarterback. He's an MVP. You need to give him some help. You didn't give him anybody outside. And you bring in Derrick Henry, and that's supposed to like be a magic wand. Not if you can't use him right. So from where I sit, I know ball. Enjoy the chat.
Look, 0-2 heading into next week.
Also, fucking, how many is that?
Yes,
3.
yes. I think you're up.
I made a used car off of the slate yesterday. So unless you know. Anyways.
0-2 heading into next week. Ravens at Dallas. Does it get worse?
I don't know that it gets worse because I can't figure out, like, if Jake Ferguson isn't up, like, that's a big question. I don't know if Geno Stone being gone creates issues that I'm not seeing in the secondary, like these explosives and that sort of thing. The Ravens and Dallas are two, like, kind of mirror image teams right now where it's like they're coming off losses where you're kind of shook. I don't think of the Ravens as an 0-2 team because, again, I think of teams as what they could be.
Yeah. But dare we say must win?
Oh, it's a must win. It's not a must win.
Must win week 3.
It's a you better win. It's a you better win, right?
Yeah.
And I think they would tell you that. So, I mean, like, listen, I want to give the defensive front credit. They played really hard, but too much of that is just creating offensively. It's just creating. And for the Raiders, we've spent this whole damn time talking about the Ravens. I want to give the Raiders their props because I don't think any of us expected this to be a close game. So maybe I know ball except when I give Baltimore credit. But the Raiders, I mentioned the people that they have outside. Now, they don't have a running back right now, and one's not going to magically appear. But Minshew, after that pick, Max Crosby, who damn near wrecked the game, you might not think this is a big deal, but I think assertive, communicative, and positive leadership makes a locker room. I really do. Max Crosby coming right over to Minshew, putting his fingers in that little-ass boy's chest and saying, I think what he said was, get your mind right because it's time to go. Like, you got this, bro. Like, I don't know what exactly he said. What do you think he said?
If you throw another pick, you're walking back.
You
to
think
Vegas.
so? Because you think that?
No, I don't think that.
Because I think what he said is, get your mind right, man. We got this. Like you're Gardner, MF, and Minshew. And honestly, some of the throws he made in the second half, he looked like I mean, it was awesome.
No, for sure.
And he's not gonna be that every week.
No.
But this is gonna be a fun team. And they are tough out personified. Maybe they're in the tough out watch list.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And by that, I don't mean in the playoffs. I just mean it's going to be tough to beat this team.
But lucky for them, with high confidence after getting that win, they have the one of the NFL's homecoming teams coming in next week with Carolina. So as long as they don't play down to the competition's level, it'd be a nice.
They're playing
nice start to
Carolina
the
next
season.
week.
But it's
in Vegas.
But it's Andy Dalton now. The news just came out.
You got to watch out. Watch out for Carolina getting frisky next week and at least cover. I don't know what the line is.
With the rifle.
I don't know what the line is, but everybody's going to be on the Raiders. Okay? And Raiders fans, I don't mean disrespect you or look over you as I talk about the Ravens, but the story of the game for most people watching is like, damn, the Ravens might not be good. And what I'm saying is they got some work to do.
Raiders minus 6.5.
Oh, wait. Savala is named after a Magic the Gathering card? You're playing effing Magic cards coming in here lecturing me about football? Now, I don't know how much mana you got at your disposal, but it's not enough, bro. I got so much damn mana after that Chiefs playoff run last playoffs, and you were sitting there like probably God knows what you were saying, but I was saying the right stuff.
All right, 49ers Vikings, big win for.
I like Pokemon cards.
So does Nate.
My kids love Pokemon cards.
Big win for Sam Darnold and KOC.
Dude, how could you not respect the hell out of Minnesota, guys? I mean, Beau, you obviously respect the state of Minnesota, but we went up to camp and
I love the state of Minnesota, Chris.
but I
think we're happy. I'm happy for that staff, man.
I'm
You should see
super
how thrilled
happy.
all my buddies in Minnesota are. They played really good. I mean, I don't think anybody was expecting Minnesota to win this game. Were you? Like, I was pretty surprised.
I thought they'd cover. I put them in a money line parlay with Tennessee, which is at least evidence that I thought it'd be a good game. But I just think the defense flew around. I mean, they won every. I don't know, have the stats on this, but the feel I got from the game watching it back was like Minnesota was nails in all the gotta have it situations defensively. Whether they're third downs and short, whether they were fourth downs, it was red zone stuff. This defense showed up to play. The first play of the game, Grenard is off the rock like he's shot out of a cannon. It just speaks to the noise level in this spot and how ready this team was. The rushers, this guy Jones for them played great. He had one sack coming in or something on his career. I think he had a 3-piece or something like that, or he's got 3 on the season. The guy was good in the run game. He was good in the pass game. The backers played hard. They blocked a punt early. Like, it's just a well-coached team. When you think about having KOC and B-Flow, you got 2 of the best coordinators in the league, and you're facing off with one of the best coordinators in the league, and a guy coming off a week where he made the Jets look stupid. Okay? I think it speaks to how great B-Flow is to come in here and confuse Purdy. After the game, he's like, your scheme's crazy. And when we look back, it's mostly too high stuff or it's cover 4, but really it's how they're getting to it.
Yep.
And we know that with B-Flow. It's a lot of window dressing. And I just thought it was awesome, man. Like, Jones got him off the field on 4th and 2. Van Ginkel on the tip in the red zone. Like, he makes a lot of hidden plays, right? He's a menace if you're trying to get the ball out on the perimeter. He's active. He's got his hand. He's tall. We met him in.
That's a Badger linebacker right there, Chris.
Yeah, Badgers had some good days
Badger
yesterday.
linebacker.
Yesterday they had some good days. And I thought Ty Chandler looked really good. He had a whole drive at one point. He did a great job of pressing the line of scrimmage, bouncing, the whole thing, especially on the heels of Jones getting Tanner Hudsoned by Warner. By the way, Fred Warner, guys, there's a case to be made that he is, I want to be careful here, he's as close to a perfect player at his position as there is in the league, including quarterbacks. There's a case to be made that he is the best player in the league. You know, if we take the quarterbacks out of it, I almost think after watching yesterday, he is. They get blown out if not for him.
That interception.
He had 9 tackles, 7 solo tackles, 1 sack, 1 TFL, 2 pass defended, quarterback hit, and that sick interception.
Yeah, I was just,
Like,
that interception is one that, like, as an ex-player, and you just kind of know like how hard it is to get an interception, but like changing directions and then just perfectly with your hands grabbing a ball.
get your head and eyes back around Nate like that.
Everything.
You're saying it.
And that's why I get mad at wide receivers if you drop a ball, because when a linebacker can do that on an interception, don't tell me when
But that's
not
not
his
human.
job.
He's an alien, dude.
So what?
I really do think like remember when Danny Glover met all the Predators? Like, it just reminds me of like walking in a room full of Fred Warners, bro. Like just he's superhuman. He's like, he really does more than anybody in the game straddle the line between Marvel character and human being. Like, the way you watch him in slow motion extending to catch a football, you can't get away from him. I talked about this. They got one linebacker you might want to match up with. They got the other ones like can we get him out of the picture? And they can't get him out of the picture. I will say this though, Darnold, he nearly had a butt fumble situation early in the game, and that's the thing. That's the great thing about hitting a 98-yard bomb on second down is you made all that go away. You get some confidence. Like he threw the ball backwards on a play. It was like a messed up play, and he like just kind of threw it backwards, and I saw his life flash before my eyes, and I was just like, oh, his career might be over now because you don't come back from something like that. I don't want to say you don't come back from a butt fumble because Squanch is calling games left and right. He's on our TV every Sunday. But I just thought like the call in that situation, knowing to take a shot and having the arm strength to take the shot. The ball's 55 yards in the leg or in the air, and his legs like early. To get the 3 before the half was huge. That's his legs. Like I thought KOC. He called a great game, but there was one call in particular, the insert look to Naylor in the red zone. That's so tricky. They brought Naylor in and motioned him, and then he chops between a tight end and a tackle, and that's kind of like when a wide receiver, a little guy, lines up in that spot. You think it's usually run, like backside run. If you get an insert play, you know that the ball is going to be on the ground. But he just inserts and keeps going, and, they get pulled in, and, I mean, it's an easy 6. So I thought they showed a lot of toughness. And Purdy, by the way, played his ass off. Okay, like Brock Purdy should not hang his head after that game. And, through 2 weeks, there's always these arguments about quarterback rankings. And, well, I'm very stubborn about putting Purdy in my top 5. I just, like, I'm not there yet. It's a very subjective thing, ranking quarterbacks. But if you're not saying he's possibly a top 10 guy, you're kind of nuts. I mean, like, he makes a lot of throws off platform. He makes a lot of great throws in traffic. I just think, like, this dude played his butt off, and the run game wasn't going the same way it was last week, but they absolutely dominated TOP in the first half, couldn't cash in. And in the second half, I thought he just made some great throws. So I just didn't want to get out of this thing without talking. I mean, the Cashman, the interception, you want that back, the whole thing. But, like, I just thought Purdy did most of what he could. And this is just Minnesota being a good football team and getting the breaks a little bit. I mean, they made their own luck, and the defense flew around. That defense.
They look sick. Chris, think about a lot of the vets that they have on that team. I mean, we were around that facility. And it's a small thing, but like just how relaxed and calm and professional everyone was at practice during that camp day that we were out there. One dude that I want to who I think was a good acquisition for Minnesota on defense is Steph Gilmore. Like, he's playing solid.
Yeah.
And like
huge.
to have a vet presence like that and a complicated defense like B-Flow is great. And then one other thing, someone in the chat said when we were talking about Fred Warner and the great game he had, D'Amico Ryans is absolutely molding linebackers. I want to give a shout out to Blake Cashman, who came over to Minnesota from the Texans with D'Amico. Interviewed him this summer, but he had 13 tackles, 5 solo, 1 sack, 1 TFL, 3 pass defending, a quarterback hit. He had a great game. So their defense, I mean, if you're a Minnesota Viking fan, like I kind of am, like Minnesota, you got to feel pretty good about where you're at in the NFC North, like 2-0 right now.
Yeah. And you look around the
off a
NFC
huge
North,
win.
one team is down a quarterback for a little bit. The other is got a rookie quarterback who, is not there yet. And then the Lions, who have limped around a little bit early in this season. I mean, like, seeing what the Cardinals did to the Dam, their offense doesn't look quite right. So if you're the Vikings, you're playing to your potential as good as anybody in the conference or in the division. And that's a great deal. By the way, Silvala said he was joking. I totally missed the joke. I mean, like, it sounded like a shot.
After the fact.
Always I'm joking.
But hey, Silvala, I'm joking too. I don't have anything against Magic cards. I just don't understand them, so I overcompensate by making fun of them. But when I was a kid, I could never understand how to play. Kids would play in the stairway up to study hall, and I'd just walk by and be like, "What are you guys playing?" And they say Magic cards, and I just sit there like I knew what was going on. But I don't know what's going on, so that's my fault.
But I have to talk about this too. Jefferson,
he's dinged, huh?
No, but it doesn't matter. He has
serious injury.
Avoided serious injury.
He has 30 games with 100+ receiving yards in his first 5 seasons, and he just tied Randy Moss for that record.
Yeah,
probably going to pass him at some point this season.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. I mean, he's unbelievable.
What did you guys think of the ref on that long?
Oh yeah, I seen
touchdown?
that.
Dude,
too.
he was so
He was flipping his hips like a middle field
Dude.
safety, dude.
That was clean.
You know he was just waiting all season.
That's
training
4'6".
all season for the moment.
messing up
Oh,
one
yeah.
of my
That's 4'6" in khakis.
potential
Black khakis.
viral moments,
Hey.
Bo.
well.
You need athletes like
I hate
that
to
on the
tell you.
chain gang, you
I
know?
think we got some overlap this week. So, yeah, good win for Minnesota. We don't need to make. I mean, they're down McCaffrey. They'll be better, but I don't want to just chalk it up to being down McCaffrey because
But-
that takes away from Minnesota and the job they did. And like, listen, you it might say something about the Jets. You know, Jets walked into a beehive, and that's a bad matchup. This Minnesota team flies around. We said it when we went to camp. They're not real big. They remind me of the Bills in this way. Is like we go see them, and they're a lot more like human sized than the Eagles, for instance. But this defense is like they swarm. They really do.
If you're
Definitely
the 49ers, are you worried at all about the slow start for Ayuk? 6 catches on 10 targets, 71 yards through 2 games. He had the slow, he was a little rusty in the first game against the Jets.
They're going to get Pearsall at some point, right? Did he play yesterday? He didn't play. They didn't go. They didn't give him the ball if he did. I mean, he just got shot. So let's give it a couple weeks here. You know, but Ayuk, I think just not being there for I think he was working hard. I know he was working hard. I heard he was working out at 9 o'clock at night, 9 to midnight every night or whatever it was, because I know the guy that trains him, and he was working his ass off in camp. But there's no way to come out of a situation like that. And this is part of the reason that I was a little bit like maybe the door's open for them to take a step back a little bit, but that's not to say they're going to be a 9-win team. You know, the win total is 11 and a half. Like maybe it's 10-7, maybe it's 11-6, and you'd be a little disappointed. But because there are some things out of the gate that they have to kind of get worked on.
Yeah.
You know, like and Ayuk's one of them. So you can work and be in shape all you want, but if your timing's not there, it just takes time. And so it is impressive that the Niners have looked as good as they've looked at times, considering everything. But to get out of here 1-1, I'm not surprised. You know.
Could they revisit some of those trades they talked about, or is that me hitting the panic button? Like
Trading Ayuk
in the midseason?
now that you have the deal done?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, word.
No, but I mean, like,
I was just,
the way they look right now, I wouldn't take one target away until you know for sure that Pearsall is just a
right,
stud.
if he comes back, which Shanahan said he's working out. He's getting back in football shape right now.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see him week 5, 6, something like that. But
Yep.
Early front runner for Coach of the Year, Dennis Allen, goes into Dallas and beats the Cowboys. Actually, blows out the Cowboys.
Coach of the Year, they might give it to this Klint Kubiak. And honestly, they need to hurry up and win now while they have Kubiak, because Kubiak might be a head coach soon. Like, it's a 2-week overreaction here. And, like, maybe you get we were talking about this yesterday. I was like, well, what happens if they're pretty good and Kubiak has a chance to go get a job and they're like, hey, Dennis, sorry. Like, Phil Jackson.
They should.
Like, because Derek Carr looks really happy running this offense. Derek Carr looks really good running this offense.
he had his best QBR yesterday of his career.
Of his career, bro. This is a quick look. Like, I think they scored over 500 points in a season 3 times, sorting it on Pro Football Reference. 2011, 2009, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I could have, but 3 times or so. Out of that, Super Bowl win, conference appearance, divisional appearance, like, a team that scores like that's going someplace. This team's on pace to score 700 points. Okay? And coming out, like, you look at Carolina and you're like, yeah, it's Carolina. I mean, that was crazy, but it's Carolina. And then you look at Dallas and you're like, whoa, look at how they made Cleveland look. They made Cleveland look like they didn't have a clue. Like, a clue how to play football. And it totally flipped in a week, and Dallas looked like they didn't know how to play football. And I think what's so cool is all the big plays are off design and execution. Like, touchdown to Olave, it's off play action pass. You got motion, you got design. They press that bailing corner. You know, they get the middle of the field safety out of there. He's across the field. It's a touchdown. Shaheed, play action pass, touchdown, run straight at the safety. That's terrifying. That's a number 2 receiver. He's going to get a lot of damn work this year.
Yep.
Left him on the bench in fantasy yesterday. Still waxing that ass.
Oh my God,
The-
I seen that. I'm glad you did.
And then
the Saints, they're running play action 52.3% of the time, first in the NFL.
yep.
Last year they were 32nd.
Yeah, it's a big jump. And then all this stuff, the last one, guys, the last one here is the check down to Kamara for 1 million yards.
Oh my God.
You know, they motion, they create like a situation where half the field is basically vacated, and guys are running everywhere but to that hash, and he catches the ball, and it's like, oh my God, Alvin Kamara is still dangerous.
They scored touchdowns on their first 6 possessions.
And you know what's crazy about them? And Beau, same thing for being Beau, you'd be out there on third down against this team. And that like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I'm saying is, like, if they're 3rd and 3, if they're 3rd and 4, if they're 3rd and 5, they will run the ball. And not only that, they'll go play action off it, and that makes their third down offense better.
How comfortable does Carr look, man? I mean, when you look at their offense,
Lazy boy,
like,
comfortable.
He got sacked 1 time for 1 yard against the Cowboys.
He's leading them.
Really good. They're really good at rushing the passer. You know what I mean? Their entire game is built off of the strength of their offensive line and their tight ends in the run game. And that's why you see, like, guys like Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. Played him. Ralph was my fantasy opponent this week. He had Alvin Kamara. And he had like 55 points on fantasy. Like, Alvin Kamara looks like a monster, but it's all built on the success of the Saints offensive line. Like, they're running the ball well. It's hard to pass rush a team that has really good play action looks when they're running the ball well. And Derek Carr is just comfy.
Derek Carr is currently your NFL's leading passer rating. He has a leading passer rating in the league right now.
No, that doesn't surprise me. They scored 80-some points, but he hasn't thrown. No, not having seen the game.
125 rating
to hear
if a month ago.
Yeah.
Huh? What'd you say?
He had 125 rating against the Cowboys, and like everyone's glazing up Zimmer and the Cowboys defense after their performance.
Just a glazed job.
The Browns. It's a pretty different animal.
Totally different.
Dallas defense when they're playing the Saints, who's like the Saints are built, like they're built to win a lot of football games.
Listen,
I'm very interested to see them in the South with the Bucks.
They ran a pitch to Kamara on 3rd and 3. They run Wildcat on 3rd and 2. They're one of these teams. They're like a mini Detroit. Yeah. They're doing what Detroit does in a different form,
right?
Like a differently dressed Detroit Lions team offensively, but they look better offensively.
Yeah,
they look better offensively. And this is 2 games, but I'm telling you that when you got Kamara and you got Olave and you have Shaheed and you have those guys outside, like, that's an exciting group, and it looks really explosive. Like, the explosiveness off the run game. When I was a rusher and I used to play certain games and somebody would say, hey, you never got home, or like whatever happened, like you didn't have a sack. And especially when you're on teams that lose, it's just not going to happen. But there were some games where you play teams like this, and I would count the true drop back opportunities, and there just aren't many. Right. And somebody said, well, you had 30 plays of pass rush. I had like 5 where I had a one-on-one, and it wasn't like a jet motion type thing, or, you know, it's like play action, or there's a puller coming to get me. It's just you never get in a rhythm. Right. And it was clear, and they ran the ball at Micah as much as they could.
And to that point with the play action, what's so impressive too is you think about, well, why are they doing this? It's probably to protect those tackles, especially in the game yesterday with Micah and Tank rushing. So basically, I mean, from Kubiak's perspective, taking what they're recognizing probably as a weakness is like, we're worried about our tackles holding up and turning it into a strength, which is hitting all these shot plays.
And listen,
going back to that real quick, Nolan, like, I just want to gas their line for a little bit. One of the best players on the Saints right now, I don't think anyone's really talking about, is their center. Eric McCoy is really, really good.
Yeah.
Like, he's been playing really good in the interior of their offensive line. Like, some younger dudes, Cesar Ruiz, playing really good. Eric McCoy is phenomenal. Like, I've always thought he was really good. And then I'm not as familiar with Lucas Patrick, but he's playing really well too. That's like a major strength of their team.
Well, I know just overcoming the tackle play. And, you know, Fuaga, who they ran behind a lot, like, jury's out. Rookie, but Penning was a guy that was like, there's no way they're going to start this guy. Well, you can work around stuff if you got a powerful play action offense and a guy who can turn his back to defense and loves his stuff. So, you know, Dallas, though, like, if you want to take something from this game, or a reason why you might say, hey, well, maybe the Saints aren't real, is Dallas just is not built for this. They're not built with Ferguson down to get down a couple scores. And ironically, they look so in control last week, up a couple scores. When they get down right now, they got no shot. I mean, like, every time Dallas responded, New Orleans knew the assignment. And, like, when Lamb made it 21-13, they go up 28-13 the next drive. Dallas goes down, tries to pull within a touchdown again. They get a pick. New Orleans scores off that. Coming out in the second half, go look at that drive. Where Dallas, I think, kicked a field goal to make it a 16-point game. Go watch New Orleans drive. They scored 2 touchdowns, I think, on that drive. One of them got called back. They schemed up 2 of them. And they ran the ball down their throats. And you got a little bit of everything. When Taysom Hill is routing Jordan Lewis in the slot and getting a penalty drawn, like everything's going right.
So when you see something like that, is that a Zimmer problem or a personnel problem?
I think it's both, because I think the linebackers looked a lot more human this week in general. But I think also the scheme is just something that like people aren't adjusted to yet. And you don't have a sample size. So you can really punch somebody in the mouth week 2. That's why like I want to say, we looked at each other last night. He's like, how good is this team? Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But through 2 weeks, they look tough. Because the thing about this defense is they've been through hell the last couple of years dealing with offensive ineptitude at times.
Right.
And now this defense is like, oh, we're going to have leads. And Demario Davis is a guy that gets lost in the shuffle, talking about Fred Warner and some of these other people. There was a sequence where he ran with, I think, Dowdle on a wheel and just armbarred the PBU. And the next play runs him over in protection. You're just like, this guy's a weapon. And all the little stuff that they had to do because Dallas couldn't get vertical without the weapons. The underneath stuff, he's running it all down. The backers in New Orleans are pretty good. So I'm just so impressed with them. The takeaways for me is Dallas can't play down a couple touchdowns. And I don't want to evaluate them down Ferguson, but I think they look – who are they? They're somewhere in between these 2 weeks.
Yep.
We'll find out, but I want to see them play a game in phase against a good team. And right now they kind of have to live off spectacular plays. I mean, like that Tolbert throw and catch was amazing. Like I'm not looking at Dak like you're the problem after that game. Like that is an unrealistic ask to keep pace with that offense. I've been on teams where we're giving up that many points. Like it fucks the offense. I know that's 4, but I had to say it.
And
I'm gonna start dialing out. Let me go search some Beau Allen highlights on YouTube real quick. I'm sure there's thousands of videos out there.
maybe Kubiak was helped because he was Zimmer's OC back in Minnesota, so he knew the system. So Tampa Bay, huge win yesterday over Detroit. Dan Campbell took some responsibility.
I love that. Drinking a lot of water because you should hydrate. It's getting cooler. Everybody thinks you forget to drink water in September. That's another thing. Oh, it's sweater weather. I don't have to hydrate. Yes, you do. Okay. And Tampa and Detroit got to hydrate today because that was a physical ball game. We knew it was going to be physical again. But it was one of those games that I find my breakdown here. You wonder why it's a shit show for me. Somebody in the chat asked, do I watch every game? Just about.
Yep.
He does.
So I got to get through my notes here. But Tampa Bay got outgained nearly 2-1. Okay, so if you're Detroit, you can take solace in that. But again, like as I call back to that Baltimore and Vegas game, what I say, quarterback and head coach. And I thought in this situation, quarterback and head coach. And these two teams, you're talking about a team that returned 17 starters, a team that returned 16 starters. Pay attention to this matchup because these are 2 of the best teams in the NFC. Mm-hmm. And we need to start taking the Tampa Bay Bucks at face value because that's who they are, okay? They got outgained 2-1. They still won the game. That's not fluky either. It wasn't like they made adjustments and made plays all up and down the field. Baker did what he had to do. I thought like the throws he made on the run were incredible. I'm sitting there watching him with Thad Lewis after he goes Larry Zonka down in the damn red zone. Guy with a absolute Reggie Miller, regular body. Just like.
Well, dude, Baker trains at the same gym I go to, Chris. All right, he's a stud. He's yoked up.
That's a testament to your gym because the guy has like regular cat genetics. He's just got a cannon and he's nuts, and I love him. And like when he got down there in the red zone, first he drops Malcolm Rodriguez and like they're like, "You want some more? We got a design quarterback run." And Liam Cohen, by the way, schemed up that Godwin touchdown that was huge. I mean, he had Meek Robertson running in the flats, thinking they're running a little screen play. It was a great look, and Godwin just keeps going, and they got 6. So Thad Lewis, my former teammate, Duke legend, quarterback.
Thad?
Yeah.
I sacked Thad in preseason.
Did you?
Yeah.
Really?
He helped me make that Jacksonville team.
Nice.
Against you guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn. I'm glad he didn't get the ball out. So Thad, who was always like, you could tell he was going to be a coach. But coming out, I'm reading about, what they're saying out of camp. And like Baker talked about how he didn't feel handcuffed. And Thad was talking about how Baker's got something with his legs this year. I don't know what he was doing, whether it was like
He's working out with me, bro.
working out with Beau. Maybe but like I think his legs are a real weapon. And I'm not saying he's a mobile quarterback, but what I am saying is like he's not immobile. And he made some big throws on the run. And I thought, like, when you look at the quarterbacks, and we can get to Jared Goff in a second. No, because I'm not doing this every week with Lions fans. I put you guys in the damn Super Bowl, and you have the audacity to get mad at me because I say that Jared Goff might be in the 8 to 12 range in quarterback.
Well, here's something
quarterback
else.
playing in the league.
Here's
But I'm just
something else
hold on a second. Did I kick a baby? Or did I tell the truth looking at the game yesterday? Guys got to play better. And I got the utmost respect for Jared Goff. And
Baker Mayfield is better than Jared Goff.
there's an argument to be made, but I'm
Like,
not
if
ready to do
Baker-
that on this pod right now.
If Baker uses
I think
his legs,
Baker's a
then
better
he's-
quarterback than Trevor Lawrence.
Ooh.
Who would you want?
Yeah.
We just did this last year when they played each other, and we added up like their resumes. And I'm not saying that like Baker is all world, but Baker, we did this, man. Baker went to Cleveland, won them a playoff game. It was like pulling a sword out of a stone. Okay, like no one could do it.
Then they gave him the stadium.
The jersey's this long. It's got people up and down it, and he go drop 50 on a division rival and beat him in the playoffs, and he hurts his shoulder, and people are like, oh, what happened to him? Let's run him out of town because Odell doesn't like him. That was peak internet right there, wasn't it? And then we sell him, we just say, get out of here, Baker. And he goes to the West Coast to quarterback camp, like Sam Darnold did, West Coast, go out to the West Coast, take a breather, go to quarterback camp, spend time with Shanahan or McVay, and then you restart your career. And if you look at his resume, I stack it up with some of the guys that people were just automatically putting above him. I'm not saying he's better than Jared Goff, because what I said this morning, just a second ago during this pod, is I factor in guys that have been to the Super Bowl, that have won playoff games. I give them a bump. So that goes for Jared Goff. I respect Jared Goff. I agree with Dan Campbell. He's good enough to win there. But this wasn't his best game. And we can be square on that. Like
Jared Goff is never juking anyone like Mayfield did.
That is my biggest issue. And like, listen, some people are lawn deers. Some people can really roll, and some lawn deers can win you a lot of games. And Jared Goff can do that. But I worry about when the pocket collapses, when there's pressure up the middle. Sometimes we were just sitting in the studio at Inside the NFL, and Bill Belichick is leading, which is a cool segment. Him going through a pregame, kind of like as if we're students and we're on the Bucks, and we were getting ready to play the Lions. And the cut up basically ends with like Bill over and over again being like, what do we need to do, Chad? And Chad Johnson's like, pressure up the middle. Like he knows, like he's a D lineman. And he said, what do we have to do when we get pressure up the middle? Catch the ball. Because he's going to throw you the ball. And when you saw that throw at the end of the game, I understand that he's getting hit in the chops right away. And he's trying to burn the ball out of bounds, maybe trying to put it between the upright. But, like, that's a pick you can't have. He almost threw a couple more. The pick early in the game is not his fault, because that should be PI or ICT or something. Like, do something, brother, right? That's not his fault. But you also have opportunities in this game in the red zone, because this is what it came down to, the red zone. When you outgain a team 2-1, you go 1-7 in the red zone. There is culpability from the staff for sure. Like, I look at Ben Johnson, I say, you got to be better down there, man. Right? Like, by the way, they were in gun 16 out of 19 plays in the red zone. That's not who they are. Go back and look at Vegas last year where they went 1 of 5 in the red zone. You remember that big hangover? I'm not saying they won't get over this, but you got to be able to run the ball in the red zone. And I also thought what was really good from Todd Bowles was they zoned up all day. So, like, a lot of the easy answers for Detroit where they like to, they get somebody in trail in the middle of the field off play action or crosser, and Goff is really good just rifling that ball in there. They weren't there. I just didn't feel like those easy options were there for them in the passing game, and I think I got to give credit to Bowles and that defense. Winfield's down, and I'm thinking Laporta's going to go off. He's like, I got something for your ass, and we're going to finish the game without Vea and Cansey, I think.
Yeah.
Like, and we still survived. And so I think that's grit, it's toughness, it's knowing who you are, and it's just the quarterback and the coach not coming up big in this spot. It's just a week 2 game. I got them in the Super Bowl. Okay, there's nothing I see short of like kind of pedestrian outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams coming on. But like if Amon-Ra St. Brown is dinged, this problem can get a little bit bigger temporarily. And I still think they go make a move at the deadline. You saw Tim Patrick got some touches yesterday, but you don't necessarily want to be throwing the ball at Tim Patrick. All due respect, right? Like you don't want to make a living doing that. So I thought the Bucs just deserve a lot of credit, and this wasn't Detroit's best day. It wasn't their best. Holy shit. We have gotten this far, and I haven't talked about Aiden
I was
Hutchinson.
just about to say.
And this is in the negative ledger for the Bucs. When you got this guy School coming up for Gedeke, and Hutch 2 weeks in a row has got, it's like a fish market out there. He's got number 61. The only tackle,
AJ or Curie.
the only tackle wearing 61 that I remember was like Marcus Cannon. Okay, Cannon. But you've got this guy. He's a fish. I can't figure out for the life of me why, if Baker Mayfield is going to drop to 11 yards, because that is a key number, like quarterbacks drop target and make it easy on Aiden, you're not going to have a better plan for him. Because School, I thought at times, got a bad rap for the way he played. Like there were a couple of these sacks are at 10, 11 yards. I know Baker's not the tallest, and sometimes he sets way back there. But to Hutch's credit, he has become a rusher, and this is why you can count him in the elite group. I mean, I think he's trying to get in that group with T.J. Watt and those guys, and the numbers don't lie as far as pressures and sacks and the way he affects the game. He can rush inside, he can rush out. You've got to beat the fish, and he beat the living dog shit out of two fish to start the season. And so I got to give him credit on that. The hustle sacks, the whole thing. One of them, if you're Tampa, you're turning 91 loose in the A-gap. So Baker still drifts. He's just drifting back there. You got to fix that when you're going to play some of these really good rushers. I thought he was great. I thought Branch was great. Branch made a big play in the red zone early. He made some bigger plays later in the game, but Jameson Williams is a priority for them. You can tell. I'd love to see him get his feet down. Love to see him get his feet down.
So close.
At the end of the game, right? And those are the little things, right, that if it's not going right for you, you look back at the game and you say, oh, these little things we could do different. But the biggest one for me is Dan. And I'm not telling Dan anything he doesn't know, and this is why I respect the hell out of Dan. And some people last year when I said this after he made a mistake and showed accountability, which is actually rare for a coach. Yeah. A lot of fans that don't like Dan and are defending the take they had when they called him a Neanderthal day one, they're still stuck on that take. They're like, well, I'd rather you just not screw it up. Okay, well, coaches screw things up. It's week 2. It's a cardinal sin to not get the offense back out there and spike the ball. Why do you have the special teams? And I don't know if the special teams coach botched that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Dan's taken accountability for somebody that made a mistake in the building. But the bottom line is he took accountability, and I love that, and that's why players play for him. It's one game. You kind of lost them the game because that 3 points would have helped. You'd be kicking to win. I also don't like when you go fake punt, like at the 20.
4th and 12.
But it works. But then you go for it on 4th and 2, same possession, and then 4th and 6, you don't go. That tells me something's going on with the offense. Like, to me, you have a chance for a 2-for-1 before the half. Like, it's the inconsistency right now. It looks like they're a little bit rattled and that they're not exactly the same as they were last year, and they're trying to work some kinks out. They'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Defense looks – Arnold, a little less handsy would be good, but the defense looks solid.
Yeah, I meant to say Aiden Hutchinson, my only bet that looks promising.
Yeah.
BetMGM future Aiden Hutchinson for the sack title this year, and he is currently leading the league in sacks after 2 weeks, plus 1,500, feeling decently good about that bet.
It's a nice bet.
I was excited. I did a butter breakdown preview of Aiden Hutchinson versus Tristan Wirfs, and I just buzzed through. He had like 3 clips against Hutch had like 3 rushes on Wirfs. Like he was on the other side.
Yeah, he knew who was buttering his bread, and
yeah.
And I just
ended up with like 5 sacks.
I got a lot of respect for him because he plays hard, but he's got great technique and he can rush inside and out. You can, and in that wild card game, he moved up and down, but like he found a spot he liked, and he's like, "This is my honey hole."
Yep.
Because Baker is going to be back there at 11, 12 yards, and this guy can't set out over me.
Nope.
So, and when the chip's not really effective, like when you chip, it drives me crazy. As a rusher, it didn't. But as a viewer of the game, it's like, man, be intentional. If you're going to waste a a back out of the backfield, like, you guys need to be on the same page. You see it all the time where a guy with chip and the tackle's oversetting or vice versa. And, you know, it's just you got to have a better plan for him. It took too long. But Todd Bowles, Bucks, you deserve a lot of credit. That's a good football team, and they didn't even play their best.
The team you called a little wagon yesterday, the Arizona Cardinals, got a 41-10 victory over the Rams. 2 first-quarter touchdowns for Marvin Harrison Jr.
They are a little wagon. They're a little wagonito. Wagoncito. Nolan's like, yeah, one of those.
Yep.
Because Kyler Murray, and I'm kicking myself because I should have been more assertive, and I will this week. I went on Inside the NFL last week, and they were like, what do y'all want to talk about? And I was like, Kyler Murray played great. Nobody saw that game, but, man, Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. And they're like, yeah, okay, cool. And then the rundown doesn't have Kyler Murray in it. And I'm like, I hope I get a chance to talk about this guy. I hope he doesn't have a bad week, too. I felt it coming in that they were going to hand these guys their ass a little bit, and they did. And when you watch Arizona's offense, I said this last week, some of y'all might have side-eyed me a little bit, but if you were able to wave a magic wand and give this team a top 10 defense, they're as scary as anybody in the league. And we made all this big deal about Marvin Harrison Jr. ran 16 miles an hour, barely speeding in the school zone. Well, they found a way. It was almost like Kyler was like, I'll show you. You want to see what he can do? I guess we'll show you week 2.
It's like he faked it a little bit because he's like, I'm not responsible for getting him the ball, midweek.
Yeah.
And then first quarter, it was like, no problem.
That was a classic, like, no, you were right. But I just didn't react well in the moment. But he took that to heart, and, like, Drew Petzing has been incredible. And when you have James Conner and a run game this multiple and, like, just persistent, and Kyler, we gave up on him. There was that 2-year stretch where it was like excellence and then injuries. Like, he was breaking down at the end of the year, and then there was video games, and there's Cliff Kingsbury, who just gave him too much freedom. Petzing's a real OC, dude. Like, he is doing some work out there, and I know there's probably 7 people in here that are like Cardinals fans, but all 7 of you should be very proud of what John Gannon, a guy that people laughed off the stage at his introductory presser because he said pew pew to a receiver on the team. Like, remember when Sirianni was a joke because he was nervous, Dan Campbell was a Neanderthal, and oh my God, Urban Meyer is going to take over Jacksonville. They're going to win a Super Bowl. Have you seen how good this guy is in college? Well, let's just realize at some point that it's not all about the first day on the job and what a guy does at the podium or how the socials are. John Gannon's first day at work. He's done a great job. These players are buying in. They've got a weapon of a tight end in Trey McBride. They now have a bona fide freak. Saw him jump 15 feet into the end zone, like extend 15 feet into the end zone. I saw him catch a back shoulder. It was like crazy. You're going to be able to throw the ball wherever you want to this guy. And Kyler Murray's got a hell of an arm, and I really do think that he's one of the best passers in the NFL. Not to mention he can scoot. He getting that little
Bro, when his
Kawasaki Ninja.
And one thing I do respect about Kyler, not knowing his hand size, he has to have pretty decent ball like grip strength, because when he scrambles, he doesn't have any ball security.
Yeah,
like at all.
No, he's. I hope he has. Hands that can grip the ball. I didn't get the hand measurement on that cat, but I will tell you,
he's got strong hands from playing so much video games, man.
Yeah, he does.
That is true.
He really does. But the question coming out of this game is, are they for real or are they not? Like, I don't know. Ask whoever's going to play him next week, because I think whoever's going to play him next week is going to say, yeah, they're for real, guys. We need to be very careful with this team. Like, I think they've transcended the look out.
Lions.
It's the Lions.
That's awesome.
And that's going to be a good game.
In Arizona.
Now, the Lions are going to run the ball if they have a brain in their heads.
Yep.
Up their ass if possible. But because this is a no-name defense, and I don't mean any disrespect, this is a compliment. Like, there's a lot of guys that people don't know out there that do dirty work for these guys. And they don't have Gardeck. Gardeck had a couple sacks yesterday. Nobody knows who Dennis Gardeck is. I know who Dennis Gardeck is. The guy's a really good number 2 kind of rusher, number 3 kind of rusher in the league. And
Denny G.
3 sacks.
Three.
He might not be your number one, but he's a number one for them, and they're trying to make it work. And their safeties can play, and
Baker, great game.
they're going to be better out at corner than they were last year. I'm not saying they're going to make a deep playoff run, but this is more real than not real. You better beware if you're playing this offense. Now, somebody's going to pull their card on defense at some point this year, and they're going to say, yo, see, I'm not saying the defense is great. What I am saying is this offense is going to keep people up at night.
Yeah.
Here's a fun stat. Marvin Harrison Jr., first receiver to have 4 catches and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter since his pops did it in 96.
Wow.
What's also crazy is, can you name a lot of Hall of Famers whose kids had more talent than their dads? I mean, I'm sitting here at the desk, and I'm not raising my hand.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, there's plenty of Hall of Famers that had kids that played football.
Yeah.
Not a lot get to the pro level. Not a lot get drafted high. But I'm looking at Marvin Harrison Jr., and I'm like,
The ceiling's high. The ceiling's real high.
in today's NFL.
Yeah.
And Marvin Harrison was a freak in his own right. But this is like a guy who's packaged totally different.
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
crazy.
And his stride and the way he runs, like, we know he's fast, and it's funny, like, those touchdowns
Yeah.
he scored, the guys who are chasing after him, it looks like they're running slow, but it goes to show, like, guys have different type of speeds, and, like, he's like a long strider, and he's covering a lot of ground, and that's going to be interesting to see just once him and Kyler really get it, really get it, that's going to be fun, like bombs over Baghdad, to be able to just throw it up and have someone –
They're so
get under
fun.
it.
I just hope Madden updates the rosters and makes them kind of good. 'cause,
Madden.
Nice. I was up last night. The one break I take from watching games before I went to bed is I botched a game against the Chargers. I was stoned playing with the damn Saints. I'm trying to take what Petzing did onto the field, and I just can't do it at midnight. Anyways, what's the next game? Because, hey, the Rams, it's hell right now.
Yeah.
We're in hell right now, man. You know, like, we need Al Pacino for this team because they are in hell. And Cooper Kupp comes out with an injury. Puka's hurt. They come in with all these damn injuries. This is one of those teams that you're like, everything has to break right for them as it did last year, and they're going to be pretty damn good. The injuries, it is feeling a lot more like a couple years ago, right, where it's just like it's too much to overcome in a division that's going to be tough. Because you just looked at, like, that's supposed to be the bottom feeder.
Right.
Chris, if you're the Rams and you lose to the Cardinals 41-10, like, you had your all-world, all-universe defensive player for the last decade retire. How do you make up that production? It's like you enter the season, you try to moneyball it, but, like, I'm a Rams defensive player right now. Like, I am in – like, you're at that point in the season where you're like, what do we do?
Aaron Donald is sitting there, and he's like, they might pay me $200 million to come back. Like,
serious.
You know what I mean? And I wouldn't come back because I don't know where this team's going. Like, they got a young front. You know, like, they're a young, talented front. I like the guys on the front, but they're young. So, like, in the run game,
Jared actually had some decent production.
I like Jared.
He had 3
Verse.
TFLs. I like him a lot. And then his college, buddy, his college teammate, Braden Fisk, a white D lineman who I'm high on. Like, I think he's got a little bit of ways to go. But you're hoping that you can moneyball some of Aaron Donald's production with these dudes, and it has not been there yet.
You can't moneyball Aaron Donald. Now, what you can do is be sound in your run fits and try to get to 3rd and long and manufacture pressure or whatnot. But Shula, like, it's how many times can you hit on a D coordinator? Right?
Yeah.
Like, how many times can you stick the land? And whether it was Raheem or Staley or any of these guys, they've, Wade Phillips, they've had a ton of different ages, backgrounds, like the whole thing. But, like, we can make it work because we got this mutant. And it's starting to look like it was more the mutant than the coordinators.
Yeah.
But also, I want to give those guys that came before Shula credit because – they were good coaches. We don't know about this guy yet.
Yeah.
I just don't know. And so his hardest work's ahead of him.
All right, it's now time to glaze up Matt LaFleur.
The QB whisperer.
Dude, he's awesome. When we went to Green Bay, and we don't have to spend all day on this game because just like this game, like it should go quickly. I mean, it was 53 runs on one side of the ball, but
that's incredible.
It's just you had to love that.
Week 2.
Week
2, 53 runs. Week 2.
So who do we got week
amazing.
2? We got Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Paul
It's like
Johnson.
an Army. It's like Georgia Tech versus Army, bro.
When we went to visit the Packers, man, and LaFleur came down and was so gracious to spend time with us. Like, we were in this side room all day, and we were like, it was awesome. We got Rashawn Gary, we got
Clark.
We got Kenny Clark, we got Wixie. They really were very hospitable. And shout out to what was the guy's name that showed us around? If you guys could figure that
Nate.
out. Nate. Shout out to Nate with the Packers.
Our guy.
Just a cool dude. Took us out there
Owner
at the
of the team.
Lambeau Leap and everything.
Works
He's
for
a
the
part
team.
owner.
Yeah.
Part owner.
Team owner.
So Nate was showing us around, but we were kind of in a side room, and we were like, I got to ask LaFleur a question in the press pool, and he's got a good presence about him. Like, you just don't know what he's going to be like. He does a good job of keeping that persona, but you could tell watching him coach. And then when he came down, we're about to leave, he pops in the room, doors open. I'm like, are they kicking us out? It's LaFleur. He walks all the way over to see us, and we would have talked ball, I think, for 20 minutes had we not been like, we got to go. He's just such a damn football junkie and so cool. You know why his players like him. He's so real, right? Like, I've repeated this story, but they had a bad preseason game. I thought he was going to be in a bad mood, and he came up there at the podium, and he's like, hey, press pool, like, I just want to open up by saying, like, I screwed up. I thought the guys played really hard. I questioned, like, our focus and our effort. We just didn't execute. So that's on me. And later, talking to him in this room, one of the things that came up was, like, when Jordan Love got his spot start a couple years ago against the Chiefs, he was like, I didn't do my best job in that situation. I'd like that back. Like, there were things that we did that it just felt half-baked. Like, and I'm paraphrasing, but you go into this spot, and those words are echoing in my head as I give out the Packers this week, catching 2.5 points. And this is why. It's because the guy's a great coach. Malik Willis came off the street 3 weeks ago. You barely had time to really install stuff or build around him. It's not like you had 3 weeks knowing that he was going to play. And I just felt like he was going to seize the opportunity, because when you look at this team and the way they're built big and physical. And I just think he's a great coach. And to run the ball over 50 times, I mean, the pullers out in space, the gap scheme stuff, the getting the ball to Reed and Melton on the perimeter, like the QB run, can't forget that, because Malik's athletic as hell and strong. He did a good job managing the game. Mm-hmm. And on the other side, I think the key to this whole thing is they knew we are better at positions, and the quarterback for them is going to give us the ball. And he did.
Yep.
So we can steal possessions, and we can run the football. And I haven't talked about Josh Jacobs, who is a great back. I mean, they fumbled on the damn goal line, basically. Otherwise, they would have ran away with this game.
Indy's run defense is cooked.
Indy's run defense
my God.
is barbecue chicken.
That's the thing. I want to mention that real quick. Chris, you said it, right? The goal when you're a head coach is to put your quarterback in a position to succeed, especially if he's only been here for 3 weeks. How do you do that? You run the ball. If the team knows you're going to run the ball every damn play, like, they can stop it, but they did a really good job of mixing in, like, perimeter runs and screen game against the Colts blitzing to the point where, like, they're mixing an inside run game with gap scheme, exactly what you just said. They're giving their wide receivers essentially run game on ends around and the quick bubble screens and stuff like that. And Indy was trying to load the box to stop the run, and they still couldn't do it. And that's why you end up with a game that's 16-10. It felt like it was 45 minutes long. It was great.
Yeah,
it was awesome, and the clock moved. But I want to say this before we move on. Like, Indy's going to have their work cut out for them. They lose Buckner. He might not play this week. Like, they could start 0-3. And if you start 0-3, you are in trouble. And I'm a big fan of this coach. I like Ballard. He's been on this show. Steichen's been on this show. He's one of the reasons some of the people in the building were so bullish about them maybe winning the division. I'm not going to name who. Nobody on this set. But it's one of those things where you have so much excitement around the team, but Anthony Richardson is a rookie. We've said this over and over again. He barely played last year. And, it's not like he's Bo Nix, where I'm like, come on, man. Like, you got to – he's a guy who made the 2 throws he made last week. So guess what? Fair or unfair, I have been on the blunt end of this thing as a player. Talent always gets gets the leeway. And there were times in my career where I'd look at another guy who's younger and talented or something, and I'd be like, man, I think I'm better or whatever. It doesn't matter because this guy's his ceiling is so high. And so we're going to wait. We are going to be patient. I'm going to be patient with Anthony Richardson, but his mechanics look really bad. You know,
Right.
he's always off platform, even when he's on platform. That's what you said earlier.
Yeah, like even when there's a clean pocket, he makes it more difficult on himself with like just not having his feet set. And
It
this
sounds
is
so
all
simple,
over the place.
and
yeah,
we don't throw the football like him.
Right.
And I am not a quarterback, but I could tell when we were watching preseason.
yeah,
When you go back and watch week 1, I'm like, he makes some wow throws, but then he makes the 4th and 1 throw. You know, where he's like it hits the mascot, and you're just like, if he can.
He's always been that guy, right? He barely played football in college.
But if you want to
Yeah.
talk about things that could change, I don't know if I can make Bo Nix an elite quarterback. You know, I just don't see the tools, right? Like the same way. This isn't a Bo Nix. I'm sorry to keep doing this with the Broncos and your win total. Just a week ago, you asked me at halftime, hey, if the Broncos start 9-0, do they pay me out right away for my Broncos start 9-0 bet? But like Bo Nix and Anthony Richardson, or Anthony Richardson and Will Levis is a rookie, or like you give the guy that threw a danger bird 120 miles an hour that damn near, like the guy in the front row, his hat fell off. It hit Doolin last week. And the 70-yard throw, like that guy's going to get more time. He's going to get more time on this show. And if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, he's going to get more time too. The only question for me is like, and I'm not saying like they need to make a move, but like Flacco is in the bullpen. Is there a point? And only with him, it's like, hey, maybe we pause for a second, like figure out how to get our feet under us, work on that. I don't think that's the way to go. I think you have to weather this storm where you look like crap the first 2 weeks of the season, find a soft landing spot on the schedule to where you can kind of work some things that maybe like he needs to emphasize. But a team that hasn't really run the ball with authority and hasn't stopped the run, like that's not good.
right.
Like this is a big physical team. You look at the wide receivers, they're all 7 feet taller. Tight ends could play college basketball. You know, they got big, tall D tackles. They got big physical guys. If they get off the bus, you're like, damn, they have to be more physical.
Well, Chris, you're looking for a soft landing spot for them on the schedule. Just real quick, they got the next 4 weeks. They got the Bears, Steelers, Jags, and Titans. Maybe they can turn it around.
Jeez.
Steelers will be a favorite.
Well, the Jags defense has played well, and that's where we're going next. Before you break this game down for me, I want to say 2 things. Number one, the Jags are a bad football team right now. They're 1-7 in their last 8 games. That's like Carolina territory, and I haven't seen them put a full game together in many moons. Okay, and that's my old ball coach. They got to do a better job. It does not look good there right now. And to change the name of the stadium to Trevor Bank and come out and play like that, I mean, and I'm not putting it all on Trevor Lawrence, but like, damn, they just changed the name of the stadium. Did I mention that? And I just look at this team and I'm like, they got bad team vibes. And Nielsen and that caterpillar of a mustache, it's got to be emasculating for you, Reed, to look at his mustache.
Yo, yeah.
I mean, you're not too bad yourself with that stash.
Well, I'm not
but
close to him.
But that guy's the Michael Jordan of mustache right now, and he's got that group playing hard. Like that's the one thing is like the defense is improved. They're more functional. The back end plays harder. They tackle. And I didn't get to watch this game in its entirety, but boy, if there was ever a person I have zero empathy for that I want to big up here, Deshaun responded. This week. The football player, I want to compliment the football player. He responded, but they also made things a little easier for him, and it wasn't as chaotic. It was like they all took a breath and said, like, what do we have to do to just make this manageable? And for people who are sitting there saying, see, he's not washed, you let me know when you would take the other side of, hey, we can get our money back.
Right.
Let me know when you see a performance that you're like, yeah, that's worth the situation we're in right now. Because the goalpost can't move here. He's got to look damn good for me to be like, yep, he's back. I'm sorry. As good as he played relative to last week, I don't think this team's making a run looking like that. And Jacksonville's not a great team.
How do you, if you're on Jacksonville right now, how do you feel about hearing your quarterback saying, we suck right now?
That's what he should say. Because they all should be saying that. They all should be saying that. That's what. Everybody should be saying that in that building. It should be like, this should be, you want to talk about, and Beau, you know this, bad moods on a Monday in an NFL building. There is nothing worse after a loss in an NFL building. I mean, there are a lot
Especially
of
a
things.
loss in Cleveland.
But in sports, like you talk about a vibe, okay, you lose a soccer game, you lose a baseball game. We got another one in a week. We're going to Tampa right now to play the Rays. Let's forget about it, guys. Let's do some, like some, what's the word? Where you have your idiosyncrasies. I'm forgetting words now. Your lucky stuff. You know, the baseball players, if they lose, they're just like superstitions, right?
You got to get that mana back, Chris.
You got to get your mana back. But there's nothing in a football building that you can do on a Monday but absolutely tear your team down. You have to get in this film room, and it's got to be ugly. Today, if there's not somebody on the verge of tears in that building today, then they're not doing it right.
But maybe it should be Press Taylor. Like, I mean, they're at the
whoever it is.
They're at the 2-yard line. They give up a sack on a crazy 8-step drop. Like, I mean, giving up that safety ends the game, baby.
Including the coaches.
Yeah.
If there's
I watched this
there
game
under a lot of stress today, they're doing it wrong.
It definitely, coach. But you said it, Matt. The Jaguars in the red zone were awful. I think they had 4 trips and ended up with 3 points. I mean, I might need to fact check that, but I don't think the Browns are anything spectacular. They only scored 18 points. 2 of those came in the very final moments on that safety. But I mean, Deshaun Watson looked like he found a little bit of a comfort blanket in Jerry Jeudy. He had 5 receptions for 73 yards. He played decent, but they didn't get a ton going offensively. I don't think they were anything phenomenal. They just weren't as bad as they looked last week, which I guess is a small improvement. One thing I thought you might get a kick out of in this game, facts that I noticed watching, is that our boy Beau got 3 or 4 snaps. They brought him in on a 4th and short. He snuck it. They brought him in on another 4th and short. They ran was it for a touchdown? Like an outside zone, like a pitch toss kind of vibe, and ended up with 50 or 60 yards. And they brought Jameis in for another 4th and inches, another sneak, and he got the first down again. So Jameis is kind of invigorating that Browns offense to pick up some first downs. Which
front office knows what they're doing. They got to incorporate him a little bit, because before we know it, it's going to be breaking news.
Okay,
boom,
Kyle, you guys are like a bunch of Kyle.
This is the funniest thing too. I just saw on pardon my take, on Instagram that someone says that Jameis calls the plays in the huddle like he's surprised about it. It's they brought him in on 4th down for a sneak. What is there to be surprised about? Everybody in the building knows that a sneak is coming.
He's their sneak guy, bro. He's their sneak guy. By the way, Bojo, corner, coffin corner, bro. That says everything you need to know about this game. That felt like the biggest play.
It was over,
bro. That punt and the way it just dropped and bounced perfectly to the sideline on the 1 or inside the 1 is just unbelievable. And for anyone that's been a Madden fan for a long time, that corner coffin kick mini game was addicting, and you can almost never do that what he did.
No. That's what you can
make it bounce
in that mini game. It's hard to. He was probably went over and dapped up Bubba Ventrone. He's just like in the mini game. By the way, Bubba Ventrone, my dude from New England. Shout out to Bubba. And just Trevor. I can't say for sure how terribly he played or how good he played. I gotta go back and look at the all 22. I think he's so right. You guys give me but
Brian Thomas looks good.
Brian Thomas is legit. He caught a go ball that was it
was on a post. It's the only positive takeaway that you really have after watching Jacksonville. They weren't getting the red zone. They didn't really get the run game going. They had 323 yards, but one of those red zone trips was the only scoring one. But Brian Thomas had 2 receptions for 94 yards. Young rookie who's playing pretty well, and he seems like he's connecting well with Trevor Lawrence. That's one of the only main positives that you.
Well, it is. Hey, they're going to be a work in progress. The win total was 8.5, and I looked at it what? But what this team can't shake is this bad vibe. It's like an invisible thing, and a lot of it is in the offensive room. And when I said that Baker's better than Trevor, I just mean track record. Trevor makes some throws now. The throw he made last week in the red zone to Brian Thomas is I can get that out of this guy. Like, he's got an arm on him, and he's got the physical ability. He might be one of these quarterbacks in a couple years we're saying, like, hey, he's better now that he has a fresh start. And I don't mean somewhere else, but, like, it might be one of those things that we don't see who he really is. And then you'll say, well, you said it with Urban Meyer. I'm like, well, you can't even count that.
Yeah.
You know, it's been Doug and Taylor, and Taylor is not getting it done right now. But overall, this team has to play a full damn game.
Yep.
Start with that.
I wonder if by the time I go down there for the Colts game, the weekend of October 6th, if I'm going to be seeing Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones playing by then.
Somebody said Ryan Clark is cosplaying as Ulysses S. Grant on NFL Live right now, and I have to see it. Because I cannot wait to talk to him about that.
Great emancipator.
Can I tell you what he did last week? He said I have a guy following me around with a computer and his a super long highlight video of himself walking inside the.
I am own guy.
It's Nolan. Okay, like Ryan has his own photographer and videographer that follows him everywhere, and I can't have a guy with a damn spreadsheet next to me. I gotta watch every game. Ryan, you got a damn like a wedding photographer.
He did have a photo
at all times.
Getting out to that jet, for sure.
I haven't seen you roll up to the seaport yet without a camera crew. Giving me shit about my iPad guy or my computer guy whose name is Nolan Mert, by the way.
iPad guy.
I am own guy.
I love Rye, dude. He is every time I roll up, it's just like, how can I mess with Ryan? How can I get him to relax? Because he's got to do so many damn things. Like, he's on ESPN, he's on 5 shows, he's doing Inside the NFL, but he does. Bill calls him two-tone because he wears two-tone suits all the damn time. And I got to say, Ryan, I think I'm just as good dressed as you. It's just I take less chances.
Challenge.
All right, we got 5 low-tier games. The Seahawks escaped New England with a field goal in overtime to win 23-20.
I'm going to be honest, haven't seen a lot of this game, and I'm going to – hey, sudden change, guys. You got to break down this game while I take a piss.
I got you. Tap me in. Hey, Chris is going like this with Butter King's ready to go.
Let's go.
I'll watch this game.
You're good.
Yeah, the best ability is availability, right, Fax?
Yep.
That's the backup route. That's the mantra. I'll talk about this game a little bit. I think one thing going into it that I thought was interesting, I don't know if you want to comment on this, Nate, but to me, it feels like these are two teams that are very similar, right? You got Jacoby Brissett, you got Geno Smith. Guys,
a little racist.
I think I meant quarterbacks that have spent a lot of time around the NFL that have basically become game managers at new teams later in their career, Nathan.
I got you.
This is actually a pretty physical game, and I thought it was also interesting because the Patriots marked their 10-year anniversary victory over Seattle at this home game in Foxborough. So, like, we had our friend of the program, Rob Ninkovich, a lot of other buddies that Chris and I kind of played with in New England were there. But basically, I mean, this was actually a pretty solid game. I liked what I saw out of Jacoby Brissett. I also liked what I saw out of Geno Smith. Like, he seemed very comfortable and, like, really good job just managing that game, doing what Seahawks have expected him to do over the last 2 years. Like, this game could have gone either way. It came down to the wire. Obviously, Seattle won a field goal in overtime, but it's a pretty clean game. Hunter Henry played really well for the Patriots. I thought they moved the ball offensively pretty well. But Geno, 33 or 44 for 327 yards and a TD.
Still not
couple
writing
drops
the,
from DK.
Still not writing the haters back, yo. Geno.
But he doesn't need to write me back because I just want to tell you something. It's from Jacob Gibbs on Twitter.com. Early charting has Geno Smith with 0 off-target throws. If true, that would be the first time since 2021 that QB hit the following thresholds: 40-plus dropbacks, average depth of target, 8-plus yards. That's never going to be a problem with them. 0 off-target throws. The guy, when he's on, he puts the ball right.
And they got to feel amazing starting 2-0, and they can't run the ball yet. Like they haven't ran the
if
ball.
they can figure out how to run the
They
ball,
haven't ran the ball yet.
that's a big if.
Exactly. And
Tampa's
they-
got to figure out how to run the ball too.
But they have the tools. They have the guys there, and once that's what I'm saying. Like you have to feel good as a team if you're being real with yourself, knowing like, hey, we haven't run the ball like well, and we got out with 2 wins right now.
and you played 2 physical.
I mean, along those lines,
not for nothing.
in this game, Nate, the Patriots actually ran the ball really well. Stevenson,
He's a
I'm
dog.
fan because I think he's
yeah.
kind of a beast. Yeah,
He's a dog.
I think
he had 81 yards rushing. Antonio Gibson, 96-yard rushing. They had 185 yards rushing on 36 carries. The Patriots was like it's kind of a slugfest early in the season, but Geno Smith was dishing the ball. Also, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 12 receptions, 117 yards. He played well too. So him and DK
him and DK both had
popped off,
100 receiving.
The one thing that I think gets lost a little bit in this game, and just listening to some quotes after the game and watching it like out of the corner of my eye and seeing how Seattle went at times with tempo, that forced New England into some communicative issues. And I think for a young staff on defense and, like a group that's just starting to play in Mayo's system and this defense, I mean, it's just like if you can get guys communicating right off the bat, you're going to have some drop plays. And they had some drop plays.
Yeah,
and I think that eventually becomes the difference in the game.
There were a couple Emmys. The DK slot fade for 6, either Gonzalez or Duggar. We'll look at the tape. One of those guys dropped. Both had eyes in the backfield. And then in the second quarter, JSN had a big gain on a 3rd and 4 and was just left wide open in the flat. And, he took it for about 19 yards. But both those possessions went on for points, obviously.
And
so.
Seattle's special team can't forget about they had a blocked field goal during the game that
Yeah.
would
I
have
don't know where you were going with this.
a
I was
blocked
like,
field goal
I was like,
that would have had it at that stopped it from being a 6-point lead and kept it at 3.
Yeah.
and gave them a chance to tie it up.
Seahawks
to go
defense-
into
the block was huge.
Yep, to go into
Block was
overtime.
huge.
huge.
I think
Seahawks defense was good. Leonard Williams was good too. And then you guys remember when we were talking in the preseason about like rookie D lineman that we were excited to watch?
Yeah.
Murphy.
Byron Murphy. He had his first sack.
sack.
That was solid.
Yeah.
And then like Leonard Williams, he had a sack and a half. I think he split that one with Byron Murphy. So like between the block and those kind of moments too, like thought Seahawks defense was solid.
All that matters for the Seahawks right now is 2-0, and it like I don't care how they got it. This is a team that if they can kind of come together as the year goes on, I think they're gonna exceed expectations big time. I could not believe their win total. I hate to come back to these win totals. I could not believe it was 7.5.
It's my biggest bet of the season so far.
Well, hopefully we're all happy.
Lucky you.
Well, they do get to play the Dolphins next week at home with a back.
And they're laying
quarterback.
6.5. I texted Nolan last night at like 1 in the morning. I'm like, what? Is there something I'm not thinking about? Because maybe it should be more, but you get to thinking about it. It's like, it's just the run game. It's just, hey, Skylar Thompson's had some spots for Miami. And I think like, if you're to believe that these backs are going to be healthy and that they're going to be healthy up front, they could maybe run the ball in this group. And I think the defense, although I don't think they're as good as last year, could cause a problem or two up front. So I see this as a great opportunity for this team to start 3-0. And for Miami coming in, hey, I did this breakdown the other night. If nobody saw it, go check it out on YouTube. I mean, I spent a lot of time talking about Tua. I'll spend like 2 seconds doing it here. We're hearing varying reports of what he might do, what he might not do. Like, I just, as somebody who's been on the other side of the argument as a football player, I just hope the guy realizes everything that he's done well so far, the odds he's overcome at times, and the bag he just got. And, you can't argue with production. I can argue with, the viability of a quarterback going forward, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? But when you produce, you get paid in the NFL, and he should be very proud of that. And it also should factor into his decision. I'm not here to make a decision for him. I don't even know if there's a decision, but that was so ugly the other night. You hate seeing it. I hated the fencing thing is just so ugly. I hope he's okay. But for the Dolphins, you got to figure something out because this is a team with aspirations. And you want Tua to take his time and make a decision, but at the same time, if he's going to miss significant time, they probably have to figure something out. I don't think this team's good enough to win with Skylar Thompson for 6 weeks in a row or however long it takes. But the overriding things is some things are bigger than football, And that really messed me up the other night watching that live. And it's just such a gross feeling. And when I was a player, I was super unaffected by stuff like this. But now it just bugs me. It's like, and I hope they do the right thing by the guy. And I hope the guy keeps the main thing, which is just being healthy and your life and the bag you just earned. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm praying for Tua. And as for Miami, they got to figure something out because they have the bones of a good team. They've been banged up a little bit early this year. They've had to overcome some stuff. They got to go figure out a stopgap because they are good enough to make a move like that. I had said Kansas City.
You said, they just gave that bag to Tua, so it's like to think about. Damn, we need to find something to hold this gap.
Just a stopgap or what? I mean, this could be. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But I just seeing the fencing thing. Oh. It's just hard to watch, and I don't want to see it again. Not with him especially, because I've already seen it twice. And it's like it's always in the back of my head when he takes off, like, are we going to get another, like, thump? And you know the thumps that I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I couldn't get the Cincy thing out of my head for a couple weeks after the Cincy game. And then you had the Green Bay concussion, and now this one. I'm not a doctor. And also, it's easy for me to say, hey, you got the bag, man. You have done so much with your career. Like, even if you stop now, it's easy for me to say that because if it was me, I'd probably be trying to play, knowing myself.
Without a doubt, you'll be trying to play.
I don't know, though. You're talking to a guy that retired early because I wanted to be healthy.
Yeah.
So you can't say without a doubt, especially because I'm living in this body.
I got you.
My brain's still, functioning, and I can tell you, I remember my thought process 11 years in being like, hey, this thing can only get worse. Next week, that's going to be a big spot for Seattle. They can start 3-0.
Yep. We got the Jets went into Tennessee and won 24-17. Beau, your guy Braylon Allen became the NFL's youngest touchdown scorer.
That's the best BA to ever come out of Madison, Wisconsin. Let me tell you, if you want to find some fun videos, go look at some of the weight room theatrics that he used to perform during like summer workouts. Cause he's so young, but he's also like a great athlete, huge body, super strong. So I was happy to see him score in the NFL.
I was like, who's that guy?
And Chris, last week you said that Will Levis just needed to not try to be Brett Favre. He seems to continue to try to be Brett Favre.
But I told him.
Well, here's the thing about Will Levis, all right? He's dating a reality star. He's all about the drama,
Is he dating a reality star?
Drama out there.
What happened to Gia Duddy?
Open up TikTok, man.
What happened to Anyways, Will Levis, I love his guts. I love his heart. Like, he really does. He can be Brett Favre-ish with his legs. But again, not with the arm, my brother in Christ. Just throw it away.
But if you're a coach, what do you say to Will Levis?
What the F? Give me a second. Can I take a break from the F?
Yeah.
Because Callahan was like, "What the
so
fuck
close. I almost got you.
Are you doing?" That is like your kid just. I can't even think of what my son would have had to do to give that reaction, but that was like a total parental reaction there. And
I know what he could have did.
You couldn't.
Jump off the dock without telling you.
Something like that. Oh yeah. You know what? Like, the problem is, the guy seems impulsive. There's no way when you're driving to the stadium that day, all I'd be thinking about would be like, just don't do that. Just don't do that. Just don't do that. And like, again, going back to Madden, when I'm playing Madden, sometimes I'm like, just don't make that throw. And I can't help myself. And I'm not an NFL quarterback. I can only imagine how impulsive he must be to be making these throws. And then to come back and lob it in double coverage. That was a great play by Eccles. Like, I'll just say this. There's a good football team in there in Tennessee. Like, a lot of people sold Tennessee short coming off that week 1 game. They had that team that went toe-to-toe with Houston without a quarterback, basically, down in the H, on the ropes. Had them on the ropes. And they let him off the hook, Danny Green style. And so what do you have now? Denny Green.
Yeah.
Danny Green would be like corner 3.
Yeah.
So Will Levis, to show up to the stadium and do that is absurd. I will tell you what the difference in the two teams is. Because the Jets, like, I really think if you put the Jets and the Titans on paper, they're more the same than they are different. Think about it. Really think about it. The defensive talent is a little bit more, is differently distributed. I mean, you obviously have great defensive backs in both defensive backfields. You have better backers, right, in New York, but the D-line in Tennessee is pretty damn good too, right? And then you look at offense, you got some good weapons outside, right? A couple good weapons outside and a back that doesn't seem like an every down back, but probably is. And when Tennessee gets pullers out in space, they look like a real football team. And when Calvin Ridley is catching the football, I mean, albeit that was like a prayer down by the goal line, you're like, you can take shots to these guys. Like, the difference in these two teams is, as the game went on, is the quarterback. And I don't care if Rodgers is totally immobile, because he is immobile. Like, I worry about his mobility as the year goes on, as the down goes on. But they can still do one thing. And we can talk about how the offense is called, and we have issues with that. But with the game on the line in big spots, whether it's Breece Hall at the pylon, getting the single coverage and just knowing that that's as good as like a death sentence. It's the same thing with Garrett Wilson out of the stack late in the game and catching the ball like Willie Mays. I mean, it was great tracking and a beautiful throw. And then Mike Williams shows up on the left sideline. It's another like, hey, we got a single coverage. I can throw the back shoulder. I can put it right in there. The throws and the catches, you know, your playmakers, your triplets making big plays. When it's time to make those big plays, I'm not saying the Jets are going anywhere, but when they play a team like the Titans, who are not that much different from them, if the Titans quarterback is going to be doing them on the line, right, that was huge. Red zone sack. Eccles' play was great. They gutted this one out. They needed this one. Now you can kind of take a breath.
Steelers played in Denver. Steelers won 13-6. Look like they have a dominant defense to start the season. They're 2-0. Both their 2 wins are on the road.
I just want to say this about the Steelers. I told you there were 2 teams earlier that if they figure the quarterback thing out, they're going to be scary. Steelers are one of them. And by figure it out, I mean if they ever loosen the reins on Fields a little bit, if they get to the point in the season where they're like, hey, Justin, like, all right, the honeymoon phase is over. Now we're going to call you some more shots. We're going to let you run the offense, that sort of thing. They haven't been challenged on defense because their defense is so good through 2 weeks.
Really good.
They shut down Atlanta. They shut down Denver. Denver had a 516-game streak, I think, of scoring at home, and it was in jeopardy.
Scoring a touchdown.
At home, right?
Yeah.
So kind of crazy to think how good and dominant they were defensively, even considering it was Bo Nix. I mean, there were times in that game where I was like, it's hopeless. Yeah. I mean, the only thing they got were a couple shots and like a trick play and that sort of thing. The Steelers, to me, it's like they told Justin, hey, man, we're not going to get mad at you if you take a sack. We're not going to get mad at you if you burn the ball a little early. We're not going to be mad at you if you tuck it and run it. But whatever you do, we're not going to throw the ball in traffic, and we're not going to make split decisions late in the down. And I think that's the beauty of not only having a play caller who's done a good job of calling plays in Arthur Smith, but a guy that quite clearly has a better relationship with Justin than the guy that preceded him in Justin's life. Okay? And everybody wants it. Hey, go back to last year. Everybody's like, it's a no-brainer to get rid of this guy. And maybe it is. Maybe Caleb Williams turns into Mahomes like y'all said he would be. But as it stands right now, if you're trying to win right now, Justin Fields is the guy, especially on this team. This team is built for Justin Fields. It's not built for Russell Wilson. And as bad as I feel for Russell Wilson not getting a chance to throw the ball yesterday in that revenge game, Justin Fields is perfect for this offense right now. I mean, it's breaking these games down. It's almost like 3 yards in a cloud of dust. It's easy to break them down because you're like, okay, another run, another run, another run. Najee Harris looks like more explosive, rejuvenated. Jalen Warren got touches again, which worried me week 1. I was like, why aren't they giving him the ball? Okay. But Pickens is a damn stud. And last year when I said he's got Hall of Fame talent and you laughed at me, turn on the effing tape. Okay? I said talent. I didn't say he's going to the Hall of Fame. I think you two know what I mean. People at home don't understand how talented this guy is. He won that battle against Patrick Surtain yesterday, too. PS2, right? PS2 is a stud. A.J. Terrell is a damn good player. A.J. Terrell, he made him look foolish a couple times last week. Not to mention some of the deep balls that Justin Fields has thrown to this guy that have not counted. I think he hit him for 51 yards rolling right yesterday. Like, Fields looks like a guy, and I'm not saying he's not going to make dumb plays this year, that's being coached properly. And when it's time to take a shot, they take advantage. I really like the look of this Pittsburgh team. And I'm not saying they're going to be great, but what I am saying is if they figure this out, they could be really scary. They could transcend tough out. Okay?
Plus 350 to win the division. Everybody else 0-2.
And Pittsburgh starting 2-0 on the road. Teams in the past who have done this.
They haven't beaten anybody.
8 out of 9 teams who have won 2 road games
Yeah.
to start the season have made the playoffs.
But they haven't beaten anybody. I want to be clear. If they can show me, it'll be easy to believe, right? If they show me, it'll be easy to believe because they have a damn good defense. I mean, that defense is fun, and the back end has improved. Like seeing those guys come downhill, knock down tosses, fit in the run game. The pick in the end zone by Trice was a great play. It was just great awareness by him. You know, tight end ran a little hitch or whatever it was, and he just bolted to the back of the end zone and made the play. And I look at the defense and say, that's something you can set it and forget it in a better way than you could last year because we talked about it. The linebackers look better than last year. The addition of Patrick Queen. You know, week 1 against San Francisco last year, you knew that second level of defense was going to be a problem. And their solutions last year were like Patrick Peterson. This year they got better on the back end. Justin Fields is taking care of the football. He's still running away from free runners. He's putting touch on the ball, rolling left to Freiermuth. He's throwing the back shoulder to Washington in the end zone. Like, that drive to me is like, holy shit. If they figure this out, it's going to be fun. I'm not saying they're going to be great.
We'll find out a lot.
I love
when
him
they play.
taking sacks
Chargers.
though. Take some sacks, man. You know, like don't do anything stupid. Don't give him a reason. Your defense is that good. Just take a sack. And I just thought I think they played perfect in the most conservative way. Like I'm not saying you got Broderick Jones needs to play better. Mm-hmm. Okay, like he had some false starts, some holds. I thought the defense was great. Deshaun Elliott, I didn't mention him. Dante Jackson, guys like that. So Knicks right now, check down Merchant. No disrespect. That's the way they're running that offense. And the deep balls are not. He kind of throws a flat deep ball. Like I don't know if it's like I'm not a quarterback again, but you would think take more shots because of the ineptitude of the offense. Let's just try to get it in 40 yards via PI or some Cortland Sutton catch, right? Like I would take more shots, but they have just been dinking and dunking for the most part. And to me, at some point, you have to decide, do we want to win a game or do we want to hang in there? Because they're not going to be that good at hanging in there. You got to actually take some shots, and their O-line's sloppy. This sloppy O-line play. Like I said, you want me to say something nice about this team,
Please.
Cowboy? Zach Allen's a good player. I like Zach Allen.
Yeah, we could bring him out there.
I like Zach Allen.
But, I mean, the same problems would still happen. The tight ends would still drop the ball. The offensive line would still let holds,
I'm just talking about Zach Allen, the defender.
Oh, yeah.
The
See,
mini
I'm already
JJ
in the
Watt.
mode of like
Family Dollar
another
JJ
quarterback
Watt.
in there.
And Family Dollar JJ Watt's pretty damn good. Okay? But what I am saying is this team just needs some work. Bo Nix needs some work. And, another nice thing, the fly fishing cutaways are always great on TV.
Big news out of Charlotte this morning. Bryce Young is being benched in favor of Andy Dalton after they lost to the Chargers 26-3. Beau, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I got news of that from some of our reporters on the ground while live.
Oh.
This, game reaction. So,
Pounding the paper.
I mean, listen, I think that's a good change. Hopefully you can invigorate the Panthers a little bit by bringing in somebody. Bryce Young didn't even attempt. I think he had like 2 passes that he attempted for more than 10 yards. So I don't know if part of that is if he was still seeing ghosts, some of those ugly picks he threw last week. Frankly, in a game like this, I'm more interested in like watching the Chargers because it's been kind of fun with Harbaugh. He's a little bit of a character as a head coach. You don't get that a lot. It's fun to see them succeed. So the real question for me, after the game, Chargers are 2-0. Are they good, or are they just playing the Panthers? What's the deal here? Listen, I actually really liked what I saw out of them. Like I thought Herbert looked a lot more comfortable. Their offense looked comfortable as well, and they really have they've really kind of done what they said they were going to do. Like what Harbaugh wanted to do, how he wanted to build this team, and alleviate Herbert a little bit and get some stress off his back so he doesn't have to play hero ball. Like that was the big message from him going into the season. And I feel like that's what they did against the Panthers. So they ran the ball really, really well. Like J.K. Dobbins, he had 17 carries for 131 yards. Gus Edwards, they did a really good job of running the ball and kind of controlling the clock. They were methodical and wore down the Panthers. 219 yards on the ground. Chris.
Quentin Johnson.
Let me get there, baby. Let me cook.
Oh, yeah. Mic. You know how I feel now. Yeah, cook up.
Let Beau cook. But I think one thing I want to say is like this run game, what that does is through 2 games, Herbert has thrown 46 passes in 2024. All right. In 2023, through 2 games, Herbert was 0-2 through 74 passes. In 2022, they were 1-1 through 2 games, and he threw 82 passes. So it's exactly like, kind of what Harbaugh wanted to do. I think their O-line is playing really well. They have those young tackles in Alt and Slater, and I've been impressed by them so far.
2 of the highest graded PFF tackles, which, by the way, I don't know if you watched the game last night, but C.J. Stroud is the 13th rated PFF quarterback, so you can throw that whole system out.
Yeah, I think as a player, you always know how you feel like PFF. Like
they'll get some things right. I don't want to just totally. Yeah, I don't want to do what you just did, which should almost count.
But the Los Angeles Chargers also got a lot of good plays from one of their young wide receivers who had a lot of drops last year. Chris, why don't you tell us?
Talk about burying the lead,
player.
Beau. This guy, I got a quote from Jim Harbaugh, and this is why I like Jim Harbaugh. Okay? And I think Jim Harbaugh is a little different than he was when he was in division with me in the NFC West. It feels like back then he had like that edge.
Yeah.
Like where he was like
kind of a hardo.
He was kind of like I remember like talking to him pregame once and I was like, "Oh, this guy hates me?" Mm-hmm. Like, when really he was just like, "It's game day and I want to beat you," Or him and Schwartz after the game, or just generally his like demeanor. I was always like, man, I respect him, but boy, do I not think I'd love hanging out with him. And I think he went to college, and it like breathed some life into him, where it's like the NFL can make you cynical, and like being around those kids can be awesome, and like having to sharpen that tool when it comes to like social intelligence and recruiting and all that stuff. Him coming back into the building, he almost feels like, and this is if you're a coach that builds your team up, they'll go to the wall for you. They won't even know they're in a 3-hour practice. They won't know. It's like the Dan Campbell thing. If you explain to the players, if you communicate with the players, hey, this is why we're going hard. Mm-hmm. I love the way he's presenting himself this time around. Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh and Quentin Johnson's performance. Everybody on the team really likes Q. Loves him, respects him, probably because he's been picked on by a lot of people, but it doesn't faze him. He continues to make tough catches across the middle. Not many people do that. This guy's been a nightmare for the most part, and, things can change. But he realizes there's no point in piling on this kid. Let me pump him up and be positive. And I think, like, Jim giving this team confidence in general, hopefully like, Quentin Johnson is one of those people that, like, it was definitely a mental thing after a while last year. If they can get something out of him, all of a sudden, Beau, isn't that what you say? All of a sudden.
All of a sudden. No, that's a Vinny Curry special.
All of a sudden.
But, dude, what you're saying, hey, I feel like the players love Harbaugh. Like, you see Herbert on the sideline, like, bracing himself, getting ready to get, like, just, I don't know, like, low-key assaulted by his head coach just out of pure excitement. You know what I mean? And then Dobbins talks about how he loves his coach. It's like, if you're 2-0 with a new coach, what's there not to love? And then they're not even getting on a plane.
This is going to be a fun game this week, though.
One thing we have to pay attention to, maybe the football gods aren't allowing both brothers to win a game on the same week.
Yeah. That's true. That is interesting.
So if the Ravens win next week and the Chargers lose,
they haven't won in the same week yet, huh?
We have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, because
one brother's 0-2 and one is 2-0.
One of them hadn't even won. What do you think Jack's saying? I can't wait to see this game this weekend. Is it Chargers at Pittsburgh or the
Yeah,
other?
It's a good old fashioned
Chargers
rock
at
fight there.
as Beau I think was alluding to, the Chargers are staying in Charlotte all week. They're going to practice at UNC
With Biff.
Charlotte with Biff, your guy.
Our guy. Maybe we should go down and see Biff this week and then see Jim. I'm not up to much.
I'll drive.
Am I not up to much, or am I up to
No,
something?
you have stuff scheduled.
Do I?
You have inside the NFL.
Well, beyond that, I mean, Charlotte, hop, skip, and a jump.
All right, last game on the slate. The Commanders got their first win by an unusual way to score 21 points, 7 field goals.
The Giants become the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns and allow 0 touchdowns and still lose. Still lose.
Yo, this game might as well have been played in a bunker. It's like I just erased it from my reality yesterday. I was like, I don't
We
even
had
want
it in the 4-box at one point, and you were like, what the fuck is that?
I was like, there was a fly in my soup. And like, yeah, I'm excited about Jaden Daniels, but otherwise, what's going on? And the Commanders win total. That's win number 1. But what happened? Tell me what happened.
So Jaden Daniels actually played very well. I think you got to give a lot of props to Cliff Kingsbury. I think they're doing a great job with the rookie quarterback and putting him in a situation where he can manage and look good. And for me, at the start of the season, I thought Jaden Daniels is the most NFL looking ready quarterback. And I say that is just like we said with Caleb Williams. There's guys that you're going to get hit as a rookie quarterback, but some guys get hit and some guys really get hit.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that just seeing him after the first 2 weeks, he's standing in there, he's taking hits, he's running, trying to use his legs, but it doesn't look like he looks sturdy. It doesn't look like
He
one
looks
of these
under
hits.
control in the first game.
Yeah.
Like in the pocket, like he understood.
Hey.
And he tucked it and ran a lot, and people are like, don't do it. But I felt like he really
Choose his
understood
spots.
choose your spots.
Yep.
Like he didn't flee clean pockets.
Yeah, he uses his legs very well. Also, he looks comfortable. He looked comfortable. And then the Commanders, I just think they did a good job. They went out there, and on Monday, they signed this kicker, Austin Seibert, and he ends up kicking 7 field goals for them. The
Really?
only points of the game. That's how they score their points.
No way.
No touchdowns, just 7 field goals. They're a team that he's the 5th kicker in the last 4 months that they had. Signed him Monday, and they won a game with him scoring all the points.
Austin Seibert.
Seibert.
I'm old
I
enough
got
to remember
some- I
when
got
somebody
some
said
that-
cyber. Do you remember what cybering was?
Yeah.
Do we have any old people in the chat? You don't remember cybering? I never cybered.
Well, like cybersex?
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't see the draw to that. You know? You cybered
man.
for sure,
You were missing
bro.
out.
Huh?
Just
You
thinking
were
that.
missing out.
I got
On
something on
dial-up,
this kicker thing. I
cybering
got
on
a
dial-up.
question for you,
Yeah.
Nate.
Okay.
So you said that the commies went out and signed this this kicker, and then obviously he kicked 7 field goals, basically won them the game. I was watching a presser with Dabs after, and there was a lot of like frustration because the Giants kicker got hurt in the
Yeah.
opening
We'll
kickoff.
talk about
They
that
went
too.
for all these 2 points.
Yes.
And then there were only 52 roster spots that were being used for the Giants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they could have brought up their P squad kicker. They didn't. Dabs was kind of frustrated because he was coming under fire from the Giants media.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the commies basically win this game because they go out and sign a kicker who makes 7 field
That's-
goals. I just think that's very interesting.
That is my next thing I want to say. So
Wow,
Gano, so
checkmate.
there's Gano, he does something in the first minutes of the game, whatever it is, he's out. So the
He had a
Giants,
groin injury coming into the game. He was placed on the injury report on Saturday. Kicks the kickoff.
Who had a groin injury?
Gano.
Maybe should be cybering.
Get that groin right. Cyber.
So yeah, after the kickoff, he's out of the game. They attempt to let the punter take, after the first touchdown, take the extra point. He shanks it so badly that the Giants decide we're going for 2 points for the rest of this game. My thing is, I think it's kind of unacceptable if you're a punter
to not be able to kick an extra point.
An extra point, bro.
I feel like I could kick an extra point.
understand anything that's like more than
These are new extra points though.
But still, what is that? 30 yards, 25 yards?
30
That's a sizable.
33-yard field
That's
goal.
a
Bro, for what you're being paid, you should be able in an emergency situation.
I tend to agree with you, but I think
Kick
you're
a
also
field goal.
not thinking about how hard that is.
But you have to see the attempt. You have to see the attempt. It looked like when McAfee pulls someone out the crowd to try to kick on
No
Saturdays. That's what that first kick looked
Really?
like. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Shit,
It looked
bro.
like Gronk at halftime of the Super Bowl.
Exactly,
man.
bro. Yes, he shanked it
bad.
bad. And I'm like, I understand you're a punter.
Oh, I love
but
how everybody gets so mad at Gronk about that thing. I'm like, oh, you bet on Gronk to take something seriously, you moron. And you're
You
indignant.
remember last year, the Texans had a same kicker issue. They brought up one of my old teammates from the
Oh,
Bucs,
yeah.
also a Wisconsin Badger,
Running back.
Dare Ogunbowale.
or yeah.
Somebody said that
Great
the
guy.
Brandy Love video that we got was cyber adjacent. No, it wasn't.
Depends what you did after you saw it.
It was not cyber
Definitely
adjacent.
cyber adjacent.
That was
that is
100 times
cyber-
better than cybering.
That-
Back in the day, cybering was just like coming IRL.
That is cyber adjacent though. You were excited seeing that
feel like
video.
that's-
Well, yeah, but no, it wasn't.
You were
like anything-
excited,
It was
so-
kind of like seeing. You know what it was like? It was like seeing one of your favorite athletes of all time. Somebody has been. How could you not respect the work that Brandy Love has put in? Talk about an STL Memorial Award. We're gonna be getting into our MGM moments, BetMGM moments in a sec. She's been out there working, dude, for decades at a high level. So yeah, seeing a cameo from her was exciting. Was it sexual? No. Maybe to you.
But the Giants
Horny.
The Giants don't look good. I think
Bonk.
they're in a competition with the Panthers for the NFL's homecoming team.
Neighbors looks good though, right?
Somebody said Shannon Sharp, though. Cyber adjacent. That's not cyber adjacent.
That's
adjacent.
much more than cyber adjacent, dude.
Yeah.
And that was all marketing too, I think.
Stop with that.
You know
I
that, right?
cannot. What?
That was all
Piercing
marketing.
facts.
It was
Preach.
set up. It was set up. You know, the start of his show is a boner pill ad at the start
So
of
it
it.
ends up being a boner pill ad.
I that's what I think.
Is that an admission that you're using boner pills?
No, it's on his show. He's getting paid by
know.
I don't know whoever, but
Somebody typed "That's my Michelle" in the chat, and I just never want to hear those words uttered again, ever again.
STD Memorial Award.
yikes.
That's somebody typed that in. That's not what. Yeah. Anyways, enough about sex.
Let's hear from our sponsors at BetMGM before we get to our BetMGM moments.
Enough about sex. Let's get to gambling. As we head to our BetMGM moments, thanks to BetMGM and all you football fans, I want you to picture something. You bet your favorite player his first touchdown score, but he throws a block to send a teammate into the end zone instead and seemingly losing your bet, right? Wrong. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first TD scorer scores second. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Now, I don't necessarily understand that because I don't do a lot of first touchdown bets, but you do.
Yeah,
And that would be a good thing.
it's a great thing.
Sounds good to me.
And you said you
BetMGM been treating us real good.
And to double back, sex is probably the biggest gamble of life, right? You said you wanted
yeah,
to
it
forget
really
You
is.
said
Yeah.
forget about
It
sex.
honestly
Let's get
is.
into gambling.
No, it is,
we were
no, sex is a bigger gamble than gambling. Yeah, I agree.
All right,
Let's get our best flight.
I agree.
best flight. Who you guys got?
Best flight.
I got one ready.
Why don't
to
you
go.
guys start?
Talked about this a little bit earlier. Harbaugh, the Chargers came all the way out to Carolina, got a win against the Panthers. They're not even flying after that game. They're staying out there. Best flight is no flight.
Okay, moving on. I'm going with the Steelers, starting 2-0 on the road and flying out of that high, above sea level, hard to breathe place back to Pittsburgh.
What Kyle say? You just fly down the whole time. It's an easy flight. because you take off and you just go. You don't even need the engine.
Oh, man. So, best flights going to them. Everyone wrote Pittsburgh off, and here they are, 2-0. 2-0 to start the season.
I don't know, man. I feel pretty sun-scorched and dehydrated leaving Denver in the month of September. And honestly, I kind of want to get on a plane after a fun win like that, Beau. So I'm going to go with New Orleans coming from Dallas. That's a tiny little flight. I mean, that flight's a hop, skip, and a jump. And like the bus ride out of Jerry's World takes 20 minutes. You're in the bowels of the stadium. They take you through a tunnel, the whole thing. Like, that's got to be fun to pull out of there with a win. I don't think I've ever won there personally.
It probably was quicker yesterday. All those fans were leaving early, so
For
there
sure.
probably was no traffic.
That had to be really fun. Okay, worst flight.
Easy. Bears going back to O'Hare.
It's so late too. But in Houston's always further than you think. Houston,
Yep.
can you move up our way a little bit? It's
And
just
anyone-
so far.
And anyone that knows about flying into O'Hare, like at night, there is a good chance that once you land, like you have to sit on the runway or the landway, whatever. You have to sit there for sometimes 30, 40 minutes, and there's nothing worse wanting to get off a plane.
Oh, yeah.
and they're just like, yeah, we're just taxiing, waiting for whatever it is. So giving them the worst flight.
So I think that's a really bad flight. I think there's some other ones here. I mean, the Rams flight was short, but holy shit, I would have rather driven home than get on that plane. I will tell you that Cincinnati flight had to be rough because as much as I feel like it's going to be good for them when they wake up and look at the tape today and say like, man, that's the best team in the NFL still, right? Like they're the defending champs and we can hang with these guys. We can beat them. But that had to be a rough one. You know, I've been on teams that the games where you have those collapse moments late. You know, that Jamar penalty, you know, the Butker field goal, the penalty on the kid who's got there a little bit early on 4th and 16. Those things are like backbreakers, and no one there is like taking moral victories. I might sit here as an analyst and say, hey, you guys are going to be okay. But that had to be a rough flight.
Who you got, Beau?
That's tough. I got the 49ers flying out of Minnesota all the way across the country. You drop kind of a surprising loss up in Minnesota. You got Christian McCaffrey on IR. It's a long flight. Not a good one.
Bevel Conway Award. Most beautiful scene in football.
Man, oh, man. I don't know, guys.
Nate, get us started.
Cowboys fans leaving Cowboy Stadium early after being blown out. And I actually had another one, but you guys can go ahead.
I don't know. Green Bay, Indy, like beautiful uniforms, look like 1961. They were calling plays like 1961. But let me go Buffalo, Miami the other night. Like just from a uniform standpoint, and like that stadium always presents really well on TV. I'm a big fan. Probably the ugliest one was Cleveland, Jacksonville, if we get there, but I'm not going to give it to that team.
Go ahead, Beau.
I think that there's something classic about the Saints at Dallas. You know, two like good uniform matchups, clean. I don't know, like not a lot there, but it just seemed like a good vibe.
You like watching an indoor team wearing all black? Like it's
Yeah,
anyways.
I like it, Chris.
Okay.
Anti-Bevel Conway. The ugliest scene in football.
Anti-Bevel.
Let me lead this. I've had a bone to pick about this. The Sunday night matchup, Texans Bears. I don't
That
know
was
what
ugly.
it was. It didn't do it for me at all.
That doesn't
It
work.
looked like the old digital lettering. Yeah, it didn't do it. The Chicago uniforms did not do it for me.
Do you know why though? It's not just the Chicago uniforms with the helmet doesn't necessarily match the shirt, but it's also Houston took a step backwards in the uniform department. I don't care who hears it. I don't care. I'll scream it on the mountaintop. That's ugly.
I didn't like the detailing on like the shoulder pad, neck area,
Broncos,
and like the whole thing
Texans.
just did not work for me.
They took steps back.
Anti-Bevel Conway for me is Trevor Banks Stadium.
Yeah, that was
Change it
ugly.
back. Change it back.
That was ugly. We didn't give any love to. I thought Minnesota Stadium always presents beautifully for an indoor stadium, and Minnesota and San Francisco look really good on the field together. Man, anti-Bevel Conway.
This is an optional one.
Yeah, it's optional. I don't want to be negative.
Fly on the wall.
Will Levis, anti-Bevel Conway. Fly on the wall. Okay, so fly on the wall. I told you I wanted to hear about Stroud Burrow, like midfield. That'd be cool. But I also think like, what is Roger Goodell thinking right now?
Stroud Williams.
Stroud and Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
What'd I say?
Burrow.
Stroud
Yeah.
Burrow. Whew. It's getting out ahead of ourselves a little bit on the rook. How does Goodell feel week to week? I know he wants the Deshaun Watson thing to go away. Does he want him to play really poorly so that more people pay attention, or is yesterday's game perfect? You know, because like it's good enough that people like me shut up, but it's not good enough where you're paying attention to the Browns, and the game is like it's covered in a marine layer, so it's ugly to look at, and the Jags are terrible, and nobody's watching. Is that what he wants? Like, what's he want week to week? Is he praying that this contract situation gets resolved in the way that we've talked about it might be able to? So I think fly on the wall is like, what the hell is he thinking week to week?
What you got, Beau?
I got a fly on the wall. Packers center Josh Myers vomited on the football before a third down and snapped the ball to Malik Willis. Willis couldn't even hang on to the ball, so he decided to run it. LaFleur was talking about it after the game in the presser. He was joking about it a little bit. I would have loved it, like on the sideline, right on the bench after the fact. What was that conversation like? You know, or what was the conversation like between the refs swapping the ball out with the other one, you know, to punt it on fourth down?
In the replay, you can see Malik rub his hand on his jersey. He's holding the ball in his left hand. The play's going on, and he rubs his hand on his jersey to wipe
I'll
it
never
off.
Like, man,
I'll never forget. I had a situation like that happen in preseason against the Steelers.
You puke a lot.
Pouncey threw up on the ball.
Oh, really?
Roethlisberger just threw a gross incompletion.
Just
It was so
just
fun.
chicken parm spinning through the air. Like, you know what I mean? That's gross.
Yeah, it was so good.
You said fly on the wall. You got to fly on the wall, Nate. Fly
Um,
on the wall. Anybody fly on the wall?
Joe Shine's son, after he sees him,
Shane.
what? Say
Joe
again?
Shane.
Joe
Shane.
Shane. So yeah, sorry.
He's got a weird
Joe
name. He should
Shane's
fix
son, after he sees
Might
him
not have to see it a lot
after the
more.
game,
What?
because it's a callback from
From his son in Hard Knocks? What is
yeah.
it? It was his nephew. Was his nephew? Remember his nephew was like, hey, man, you might want to like take Jaden Daniels.
Maybe
So it was his nephew. My bad.
But yeah, maybe his son was like, hey, I just talked to your nephew and you're a moron. Or something like that.
They brought this up post game too, but like Malik Willis gets a big win. He's been on the team for 3 weeks. Like, do you give him that game ball, just a puke
Oh.
ball?
Yeah, I think you give him the puke ball
Yeah.
for real, honestly.
Got it.
And we didn't
You have
mention
to do it.
And we didn't mention it earlier, but he has a revenge game coming up too. By the way, going to Tennessee.
Can I give you my worst seat? I'm just so excited to talk about this. My friend, Devin McCourty, in the production meeting, when they're like, before they started that show with Maria Taylor and Chris Sims and Tony Dungy and them, they're like, so Dev, you're just going to be standing next to Maria Taylor. So, and he's like, right there, like we're in the same shot. Like I'm going to be at her shoulders. I'm going to look like a short king up there. I texted Dev last night and I was like, my man, you got to like do something. And he's like, I guess I'm a short king now, bro. So shout out to Devin McCourty for having to stand there and accept the placement of being next to Maria Taylor, who's got to be 6'5". You know what I mean? I didn't realize Dev was so little.
I like their cocoa butter commercials.
Who's got Dev and Jason?
Yeah.
Didn't they? Was it just cocoa butter?
And Old Spice.
That's
I
a
think
pretty
they
old
had,
one. The
too.
cocoa butter's old.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's back in the day.
All right.
They like caught a cheerleader.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. It's awesome.
appears out of the sky.
Oh.
We'll stick with worst seat. Beau, Nate, what you got?
I have, even though it might change, the seat might change now with the change in Carolina. I have Jake Delhomme. He's been the Panthers color commentator, and that probably just has to be a terrible seat every day going into work, knowing you're about to commentate on.
I don't know though, man. It kind of keeps you from missing the game, doesn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I could see being a play-by-play guy on a team that's like really good. You're like, fuck, they're pretty good. This looks fun.
It's so far pretty bad. You don't think it's bad?
I think it kind of like it's like I'm okay right where I am. It has you appreciating the quality of life. You know what I'm saying?
My worst seat was different at the beginning of our, when we started to go live here, but things evolve rapidly in the NFL football sphere. My worst seat in the house, Bryce Young. He's sitting his ass on the bench. Tough.
Yeah, that's a
Tough place to
bad
be.
seat, man, especially because it's like
Week 3 in your second year.
Is it?
Yikes.
Is it though? Is it?
there, no, but I do think like we learned this lesson yesterday with Sam Darnold. We've learned it with other quarterbacks where it's like I know people are like it's over for this guy. I'm empathetic towards him because nobody in the world has any sympathy for people who get drafted high. I can tell you that from experience. And your situation is not always great, and this situation sucks. And it's hard enough to play quarterback when you're a good quarterback on a bad team. Like we've seen that before, and we've seen guys that got second chances in situations that are much more stable and look better. So I hope the best for this guy. It's like kind of screwed up where like everything that looks like success leads you to failure if you're him. Like you succeed at every level your whole life, and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is like you get drafted by David Tepper, and like a year and a month into your career you're benched. That sucks. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but what I am saying is it's not a perfect situation.
Best seat.
Maria Taylor. She's looking down at Devin's shiny ass head. Like, man, I don't know. I don't have a best seat.
I'm going Jordan.
I got
Love.
a best seat.
What? Oh, Jordan Love. Yeah.
I'm going Jordan Love.
Yeah, that's a good seat.
For the simple fact that
He's not taking your job.
Watching your backup do just enough, but knowing that he's not taking your job, so you can actually relax and get healthy like you need to, it's probably the best seat right now. Go ahead, Beau.
I don't know if you guys have seen this guy on TV at all. His name's Jason Kelsey. Headed back to Philadelphia for the Monday night game. Best seat in the house. Get to see the boys, catch up with Jalen Hurts a little bit, and then go back to Philly and get a little hero's welcome.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
In honor of Kevin Bacon, our Hollow Man Award.
Hollow Man's, I mean, it's pretty simple. We might rename this award the Will Levis Award.
Seriously.
I mean, that was just brutal. I can't go. I don't have any more rants. I'm all out of words.
My Hollow Man this week is going to Dan Campbell. Just because you owned up to your mistake doesn't mean you shouldn't be the Hollow Man. That chain of events that happened might have cost your team the game, so you're the Hollow Man.
Yeah, it's hard for me to argue with that.
I had Will Levis too. I mean, come on.
Come on, man. STL Memorial, I had all these timestamps, but I lost them in my notes. Like, there were 5 chain gang guys that got absolutely manhandled yesterday. And I just want to say, like, as we push forward into a new era where they're trying to get rid of these guys, they're also injuring them at the same time. It's like nobody's paying attention to them. The cutaways, like, a guy had like a cardiac incident on the sideline. Like, that was scary. Hope he's okay. The guy who hit his head at the end of the game last night, that's scary, dude. Like, I know we're kind of having fun with like the chain gang in general, but like he hit his head hard, and he's an older gentleman. I hope he's okay. Those guys and everybody on the sideline, the staff, the whole thing, they're in harm's way, really. And you think about it, like the thing that keeps players from getting injured is they're incredibly athletic on the sideline. We see it all the time. Coaches too. But these guys, yeah, feel for you.
What you got, Beau?
I got a good one. STL Memorial, I want to shout out. I talked about this a little bit, but, in Minnesota, Blake Cashman had an unbelievable game. One thing that's cool, I interviewed him this summer when I did the little Minnesota week, but he's from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. His first home game as a Viking, 13 tackles, 1 sack, 3 passes defended, quarterback hit, played a great game.
My STL Memorial is going to Austin Seibert, Commanders kickers.
Hell yeah.
7.
We know who he is now.
7 field goals straight off the couch, picked up on Monday. Has to be a great feeling for him.
Oh, yeah.
21 points, bro. Only person to ever do that. I scored 21 points by myself.
That was pretty incredible. How about all his
We won
buddies
this
that
game.
got him on his fantasy team, like back home, that were like, we'll do it for the F of it.
Balled out.
Nice job. Game ball.
Game ball, Mike. Game ball goes to Matt LaFleur. I mean, it's the hardest job in the NFL outside of being a quarterback, I would think, is being a head coach and just everything that comes with it. And to string together a performance like that out of a guy that people laughed at you, well, not laughed at you, but they were like, why Malik Willis? Like, why? Like, why? You know, and then 3 weeks later, you get super creative, you get in the bag, you run the ball down people's throat, and all of a sudden you're 1-1, and you're down Jordan Love, you know, better part of a month probably, if not a little bit longer. But all this does is confirm to me that they're building a team, a roster that's really quality, and their head coach is a bona fide stud. We don't put him in the category of Shanahan and those guys enough. This guy is an absolute stud.
My game ball is going to my fantasy football quarterback, and that's Kyler Murray, who looked amazing this week and gave everyone what they want to see, and is the potential between him and that rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think everyone is now officially excited and ready to see what more they can do. And we might need to find a quarterback receiver duo name for them coming soon.
For who?
Kyler Murray and
Yeah.
Harrison.
Twins.
That's good.
Twins.
Twins.
DeVito and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, we should Photoshop that.
Honestly, they should be called the Twins. You know, Dallas had the triplets. They have the twins.
Who you got, Beau?
My game ball goes to our very own Cowboy Reed Dickerson. You guys might not understand the weekend that we had in Madison, Wisconsin. Cowboy came in. We ripped out a bunch of great content. He was, he was vibing. He came in with absolutely unbelievable attitude. Was rolling with the punches. Down about 50 spotted cows on Saturday. Woke up 6 a.m. for a flight out on Sunday, and still managed to prep us all for
Landed by
an
10 o'clock.
Monday
Yeah.
show.
Landed by 10.
Cowboy
p.m.
Reed.
Yeah.
Cowboy.
Beau hosted us very well. It was an amazing trip. Shout out to Beau's parents. Blast and a half.
Hey,
Mom
let
goes, Cowboy, he's just the nicest guy.
Cowboy Reed
Only
is
one on it.
great in studio. You know, the whole, like, he might be a better player than a person or vice versa, but he might be a better person than a producer. I mean, when Cowboy is on the scene and you're doing anything, things are going to be better. They just are.
Yeah.
And he's a great hang. That all changes when one day he has kids. That's the thing about you guys that you don't understand is, like, life is so easy right now. You can down 50 spotted cows. You can go where the wind blows.
Yeah.
Because you don't constantly have this dark cloud of responsibility hanging over your head that you love very much at the same time, but which hinders you in situations like that. So, Cowboy, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah, enjoy it, because I just shout out to my daughter who turns 1 today.
Oh, happy birthday.
I've officially been a parent for a year.
You just Robert crafted Cowboy Reed's game ball. Congrats on the sack.
He really deserves it. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh, man. No, but that is awesome, dude.
Hell yeah.
I mean, what a dad you are, too. It's awesome. And got to spend time with your parents yesterday.
Oh, man. They were excited.
Shout out to Al and Roz. Like, honestly, two of my favorite people. They got to come over for a little bit, watch the games. And Al looks like Billy Blanks right now. He's so jacked. You got a jacked dad. He's the coolest guy in the world, and your mom's a saint. No surprise they raised a tremendous father. So
No, they were excited. They were definitely excited to be down here and see everything.
Who's winning the Al Howie showdown?
Like a
Who's winning
fight?
that one? My dad could beat up your dad, Chris.
I don't want to disrespect Al.
Like, I don't know. I think
Al's a big man and
My-
probably feels better every day rolling out of bed than Howard.
My dad played basketball in college, and he famously tells me all the time he quit football because he got a little stinger in his neck when he was in high school, and he was like, never fucking again. so I'm not saying that my dad's an easy win, but
No, but it is Howie Long.
yeah.
And for a long time, I really did feel like my dad could beat up all the dads. Like, I really did. Now his body's a little bit more shot, but yeah, it was. I've seen my dad handed me to a Raiders fan because this guy was trying to fight him in the parking lot, like after a game in the 80s. Like, that's the kind of like, bro, like he's just
Like, here,
he's
hold
ready
this
for
a
war.
second.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Hold my son.
We were kids one time, and you got mad because everybody else could beat up their dad except you, but you could beat all of us.
I know, exactly. It kind of sucks when you frame it that way.
That's funny.
All right, Nate, viral moment of the week.
All right, my viral moment of the week is going to Shane Waldron, who was shaking like a Polaroid picture on the sideline with his play.
Oh, my God.
And they got it on camera. And is it that bad in Chicago? Like, is that the pressure that you feel trying to send plays in to your rookie quarterback?
Was he shaking like that week one? It's a Houston thing, dude. I'm telling you, this defense is fast and physical, and yeah, that looks about right. And the fact that they still covered, like, incredible to me. It's a testament to how good they could be.
Depends when you got that bet in.
Well, I buy half points, so I
Smart.
push, so I'm good.
Beau, what's our drip king of the week?
I got a legendary drip king this week. Staffer for the Houston Texans. I've been told his name is Tyler Sherry. He's an equipment guy, but he's also Tank Dell's. He's his chain man.
That's
All
their
So you got
Paul
the chain
Wall.
gang, we got the chain man. Look at that guy. Looks like Bobby Hill if you had a little bit of swag.
He does look like Bobby Hill.
He does.
Oh,
Probably
my
that's part
God.
of his week by far.
God damn it, Bobby.
All right.
Before we get out of here, we got.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen.
Eagles hosting the Falcons tonight. They are 5.5 point favorite. AJ Brown is down.
Yeah, they still cover. I think they still cover. Like, if they don't cover, it's a disappointment. Give me the over/under's 46. Give me 30-17. Give me 30-20. Give me the Eagles running the ball all over these guys tonight.
Speaking of that, Nate, are you going to bet on a first TD scorer tonight using BetMGM's second chance promo?
I am.
Saquon Barkley?
I am. No, I'm going big. I'm going with Philly's defense and or special team plus 6,600. BetMGM second chance promotion. You'll get your money back if your first touchdown score doesn't hit, if they end up scoring the second touchdown. So for me, I am predicting that the Philly defense.
Plus how much?
6,600.
So how much did you bet? Okay. But, like, let's say you bet $10.
$660.
Okay.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah. All right.
don't jinx it, man.
All right.
But yeah, so I'm expecting that the Philly defense will score first, and if they score second, then I'll get my full stake back in cash, and I'll have another chance to bet on something in game.
Love that.
Love it.
Love that. Love the birds.
On the F word counter today, Chris had 5, Beau had 2. So
I had 5?
You said one when you were talking about Jake Delhomme. That was the last one you
Really?
did. Yep. But I will make this offer. If you or Beau can go 0 for a whole show, I will do a fantasy football-esque loser punishment
Really?
of your choosing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard a pretty good one today because we're still trying to figure out one for our league. It's 3 songs at a senior center. And we can't go because we will have a hard time keeping a straight face. Shout out to Tom Paquette who came up with this.
Good.
But can you imagine your golden pipes at a senior center?
It'll be fire.
What song would you sing?
Do you know 3 full songs?
Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I know 3.
I don't know if I know
Grateful
3.
Dead.
I don't know if I know 3 full like songs.
Grateful Dead. You're like, and here's a one for the Grateful Dead. They're all like, yeah, indeed, we would be grateful.
All right.
And let's give Beau his flowers since he won. Beau, here's a little play for you.
Yeah.
You guys might not know this, but in 2016, I was tasked with being the fullback for the Philadelphia Eagles. That was the HBO package, heavy Beau package. We're playing the Giants here right around Christmas. It's the only snap.
You also have a sack.
I
We have a
got-
Wisconsin sack there too, so they kind of give you double.
Yeah, Beau took over the
Just
control.
watch your boy.
Beau took over the control.
Okay, Beau.
Watch your boy here.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, they didn't give you the ball?
We didn't get in.
No, he didn't get in. Just follow your blockers. Who was that? Oh, is this a whole highlight reel? We got to go.
Let's see what play this was.
No. Hey, guys, take care.
Here's your play right here.
Take care.
Like, subscribe, tell your friends.
Subscribe. Yeah, look, good rush. Oh.
That was on a screen. I had another one dialed up too. Don't worry, I got highlights.
All right, so we got to go. We didn't say 5 plays. We didn't say breakdown. Hey, guys, we'll be back Wednesday. It'll be me solo probably, and then later in the week, Stanford Steve, Macon, Dr. Fax, teeing you up for all the week 3 action. It'll be here before you know it. Like, subscribe. Thank you to BetMGM. We're here every Monday.